afternoon. Welcome. Brooks's Bass Corner here. Coming to you live from London here in the UK. This is Live Chat 97. I thought today was going to be a live chat talking about bass, bass amps, bass effects, bass accessories, new gear at NAMM, people getting out there doing gigs, getting back out, doing shows. Unfortunately, it's not. And if you're coming in as a regular here on the live chats, you're very welcome. You know you're always welcome here on Brooks's Bass Corner. You're amongst friends. However, this week's live chat is a little different. The week was going along fairly well. And unfortunately, here in the UK, we've lost a bass brother this week. And it's being felt not only here in the UK, not only in his hometown, it's been felt actually all around the world. This guy had such an influence online with bass players, on bass forums, on bass groups and bass pages, that as the past couple of days have passed, the outpouring of love, respect, acknowledgement for this guy has kind of taken my breath away and quite a few other people's breath away. I can't remember putting a post up on my Facebook page and my social media generally that created such a reaction so quickly in terms of notifications, messages, reactions, that it's taken me and everyone that knew him completely by surprise. But the outpouring of affection for the guy is incredible. So for those coming into the chat, if you're from abroad, you may not know him, but you may do. Here in the UK, there aren't many bass players that don't know him. If you don't know him personally to have met him, chances are you'll have seen his posts, you'll have read his content online. Or you may have met him at a bass show or a guitar show. You might have seen one of his gigs. So today's live chat, we're remembering Nick Smith, who passed away on Tuesday night. I've known Nick for 28 years. Our lives and our careers are extremely similar. We've done similar things, similar places. He was 18 months older than me. But we've kind of carried on. I last saw him last year in July. Regular viewers here on the live chat will know I bought an Alembic Persuader bass. I'll show it to you later. I bought that from Nick last time I saw him. And what should have literally been a 5-minute handover. Hi, how you doing? Here's the bass. There's the money. Bang. Off we go. Ended up being a 3-hour chat. So the turn of events this week started for me, on Wednesday lunchtime. Well, yeah, sort of early afternoon. I got a message from a gentleman by the name of Hugh Birkenhead. I've known Hugh for about 7 or 8 years. He's the Dep keys player in Uncle Funk's Disco Inferno, the disco show band I play in. He's one of Nick's best friends. He contacted me and said, have you had any contact with Nick? I was like, no, what's up? He said his sister's trying to get hold of him and no one can seem to find him. So if you hear from him, let us know. But have a look on his Facebook page. That'll link you through to his sister and his family and what have you. So I had a look. I thought that seems very out of character. However, it is NAMM week. Nick has attended NAMM previously. And the problem with things like NAMM is that it so overtakes your life in the build up to it that very likely maybe he was just so busy, hadn't been in touch with family, got on the plane, gone. So we alerted as many people and colleagues in America, in LA, as we could, and said, look, keep an eye out for Nick. If you see him, let us know. No one saw him. I phoned him, texted him, contacted him on Messenger, WhatsApp, emailed, didn't hear anything back. At which point you start to think, okay, well, maybe he's taking himself off just for a bit of a reset at the coast or something and just didn't tell anyone. But as time goes by, you're starting to think, well, no one is coming up with anything. And there didn't seem to be any positive news quickly. Then we saw some CCTV footage from the night before of him leaving work. So literally the guy in his car has just disappeared. Through Thursday, hoping for news. And as much as me and his friends and people that I know were all hoping for a positive outcome, we wanted this to happen. It's winter. And you just don't know what has happened, where he's gone. It's almost like a UFO has come down and just taken him away. And by late Thursday night, there had been some developments. But at the moment, and I say at the moment, here we are on Saturday, no one but his family and the police have the information and know what's happened. So there is no speculation on my part. My mind's going at 100 miles an hour trying to work out what could possibly have happened. It's not anyone's place here to surmise what has happened. All we know is that our friend, colleague, bass brother has left the party. He's been promoted to the greater band in the sky. So today's live chat is for friends, colleagues, anyone that's tuning in. I'm very aware that people may see this on YouTube for years, and well, until I go in a box anyway, this will be up on YouTube for people to watch. So if you've got any memories, stories, recollections about the larger-than-life Nick Smith, please join in the live chat. Come and get involved. You can enter by the live chat window if you want to do this by text. If you want to come on screen and talk by video, or if you want to talk but you don't want to be on camera, you can join in by audio. There's a ticker running along the bottom of the screen. Email me at brooksesbasscorner@gmail.com. I'll send you an invite. You click on the invite and you come into the waiting room, and then I can add you to the proceedings. I can have 8 people live here at any one time. So if you want to join in, or if you just want to stay in the shadows and communicate by text, that's cool. So let's get the party started. This is Remembering Nick Smith.
Hi everybody, it's only me down the studio. Guess what I've got out tonight? Whee! That's for Nick Beggs. Hope you're alright, old mate. Bless your heart.
Hello world, this is Dr. Smith in his studio, holed up in the middle of nowhere. How you doing everybody? Strange times. These are the alien years as predicted by Level 42 in 1987 when they did the Sleepwalker strike. Think about it. This is just a very quick little video just to wish everybody out there all the very best. It's a very strange time. I've just been shopping for my mum and my nan at Sainsbury's. It was like something out of a dystopian horror film, you know, something like out of Blade Runner 2028, whatever. So we are living in extremely strange times, but the only thing I can say is keep well. Don't go out if don't go out. Stay in. Watch the telly or whatever. I'm just down my studio, which is in a very, very secure compound. There's no way people can get in and out. So I've just popped down here to check everything's alright and do a couple of bits. So I just want to wish you all the best, and let's hope we get through this as soon as we can. We'll get back out on the road with the boys. Hello boys, hope you're alright. Very proud of you last night on the Facebook Live. This video is not live. Re-record it. Yes. Hello. Don't go outside. So, just want to wish you all the very best, everybody, and let's hope this blows over as soon as it can, and we'll get through it okay. Your health is your wealth, you know. Yeah, I'm a bit concerned about money at the minute, but fuck it. Bollocks to it, that's what I say. Anyway, if anybody wants to send me any money, please do so. The Nick Smith Hair Restoration Appeal 2021 at 13 Let's Be Avenue. And I'll speak to you. See you later. Live long and prosper. Yes. See you later.
There we go. So, I advise strongly today, have a box of tissues to hand. We'll be hearing more from his lordship through the live chat. Too big a character to not have videos up. The guy, let's go back to Dot. So I met Nick. Actually, it wasn't meet, it was chat. So back in the halcyon days of the deep, dark 90s, just as the internet became a thing, just prior to me graduating from university in 1995, a level 42 email digest was started up. Little did anyone know that they were setting this digest up and the band were about to split. So there were people from all over the world on this digest. And we were all able to share our love of the band, and sort of lots of bass players, of course, Mr. King being our idol. Nick was one of those people on the digest. So I think the first kind of communicated with him would have been 96, 97. So I was already a professional musician at this point. I'd graduated from uni, and people who know me here on Brooks's Bass Corner will know that I literally fell out of doing my degree and became a professional musician. Very fortunate for me. Nick took that step a little later. So at this point, he was working in IT. And it became very clear, very quick, that he knew his stuff. And he could wax lyrical about Mark's technique, all the gear. And one of the things that was to Nick's advantage was his dad owned Peterborough Music. So he would see all the gear come in and they could order anything as a retailer. So Nick's voyage on being a bass player was ahead of most of us because all that stuff was coming in and he was able to buy it at trade, whereas the rest of us would have to pay retail prices, of course. So he and I communicated by email digest and then email. Would have been 96, 97, 98. I didn't have internet at home until 98, 99. But I was working, well, at the time, lots of us, you would use email and internet when you were at work. That's just what you did. And we exchanged messages over the years. And then he found out I was playing in a level 42 tribute called level 43, which ran from 97 to 99 while I was in the band. And he would always badger me. He would say, you know, if you need a dep, if you need that. I said, well, at the moment, we're not really at a gigging stage. We're just rehearsing. And he was like, no, I'll come down to a couple of rehearsals. And I was like, well, you can if you want. I said, you might be a bit bored. As though he would be bored in a level 42 tribute band rehearsal. So wind the clock forward. My last, well, actually the first gig that band ever did, and my last gig and the last time I worked with the band, was November 1999 at an Aylesbury police station, believe it or not. We hadn't done anything illegal, but the premises, the social club part of the premises had been hired for what was called a level fest, where people from all over the world who shared their love of level 42 would congregate together when Mark was doing a run of shows here in London. And there'd been a couple of these in 98. And then Mark's run of shows at the Jazz Cafe happened in November 99. So while people were over for the show, there was a get together of fans who wanted to say hello. And there was a real community that sprung out of this. Anyway, we were playing. We did about an hour's set, I think, of level 42 hits. And Nick was there. Actually, there was lots of people there. Quite a few people who had some of Mark's old basses. I had one. I had his old 4-string Stingray. And Nick had the, remember the serial number, the JD that was used on the Live at Wembley DVD. I'm very proud of it. As he said later in life, I should never have let it go. But he used the money from that bass sale to basically project himself into being a full-time professional musician. Good on him. So we met each other at that Level Fest, said hello, had a quick chat, but there wasn't a lot of time to chat because literally as Level 43 finished, I had to pack my stuff up, get in the car and head straight back to London to go and do a corporate show on Park Lane. But at least we'd at last met and said, hello, how you doing? So that was that. And then we kept in touch often online. When I had left that band, he then said, oh, you know, they're looking for a bass player, I guess. You know, can you put me forward for the job? And I said, absolutely. I said, here's the numbers for the guys that are in the band. Just give them a ring. I don't know if they're carrying on or not. For me, it was a case of I was just so busy with gigs and work, and I just didn't have the time to commit to sort of once a month rehearsals anymore. And the fact we'd only done one gig in 2 years, it was like, I just don't know. I can give out that amount of energy and time and practice for something that A, isn't going to earn any money, but also I was just so busy flat out with covers gigs that it didn't make it a reality anymore. So anyway, we stayed in touch. That's fine. And then obviously the Level 42 email digest morphed into a web-based digest, and that carried on through till mid-2000s, I think. And Nick was a regular, you know, contributor on there. Doctor of the Bass, of course. There's nothing he didn't know. And I remember contacting him many occasions trying to improve my bass knowledge on certain brands and ranges, and I'd go, you know, I don't understand, why did that range come out then? And he always had the answer. There was always, he knew this stuff like the back of his hand. And so then once social media came along, Facebook and what have you, we were all sort of able to contact each other very easily that way. And then it wasn't that we lost touch. We were just both busy in our careers, I think. And then once the London Bass Show became a thing in 2011, that was when you would see each other. And obviously he was based in Peterborough, I'm based in London. So we're 100 miles apart. But, you know, if I was up that way, I'd give him a shout, you know, are you in? You fancy a cuppa? And then we would see each other at London Bass Show. And I'm sure I'm going to have many people on here who know Nick purely through being at the bass show, because everyone knew him, everyone knew of him, and he was such a great bass player, such a talented guy that, you know, you couldn't stand there and not be impressed. Okay, occasionally took the slap stuff just too far and people go, oh, I can't listen to this. But in every context of being a bass player, and people I've spoken to, especially in the past day or so, the guy had great taste, great feel, great technical ability. But as any bass player will tell you, one of the biggest compliments you can ever get is when people say, well, you knew the notes to leave out, or you knew not to play. And as much as Nick loved doing all the flashy, slappy, tappy, you know, all of that, he could lay it down as simply as the next man. He just was a great player. And the fact that his musical taste was so broad, and we would have conversations about everything musically. And as I say, last year when I went to pick up this alembic from him, I thought it was going to be like 5-10 minutes. I thought he was really busy. And he went, no, come on, we haven't caught up for ages because the bass shows haven't been running since 2019. Hadn't seen each other since COVID. And he said, no, come on, we'll go and have a natter. And it was like, great, okay, yeah, let's do that. So we did. We touched base on just everything and anything, and, you know, things that both of us had forgotten about with the other. Oh, and how's that going? Oh, yeah. No. And I hadn't been to his lockup. I didn't, you know, I'd seen the business online, but I'd never been there. And he literally just pulled out a chair and said, right, what do you want to play then? So you got racks and racks of gear. And it's like, well, this looks rather good. And he was asking about Uncle Funk, and obviously he knew that I was in touch with Hugh and playing with Hugh. And the bizarrest thing is, I was on a gig 2 weeks ago with Hugh, and the first thing we both said wasn't, hi, how you doing? It was, you seen Nick lately? And then I'd said to Hugh, well, actually, one of the basses in my bags tonight that I've brought to the show is the one I bought off him the other, you know, couple of months back. Oh, right, yeah. And And that's kind of where we were. I mean, last time I spoke to him would have been, I think we exchanged messages in the autumn, probably about some gear, just asking for some, do you know what this is? Do you know, what electronics are in that? Yeah, it'll be the LP314A version C. Right, okay, cool. So that is my potted history. He came to my house when we lived in Ealing. Back in, might have been 2000, 2001, back when I owned the Mark King Stingray. And he was avidly trying to get an opportunity to play it because he hadn't really had a chance at the Level Fest in 1999. He came in, he was either working in London or he was coming through my side of town. And I said, well, come over. I said, I've got a gig that evening, but, pop in for a cuppa and we can have a natter. And I remember the look on his face. He was so made up. He got another of Mark King's basses in his hand. I said, mate, any time. I said, you're passing through. You're more than welcome to drop in. Little did he know I was going to sell that bass about a year or so later. But, yeah, that's my memories. And I've got nothing but good memories of the guy, Like I say, we were kind of on similar paths, doing similar things. And this is the hard thing as a musician, is that you get very little social time with your peers, because as a bass player, there's only ever one bass player on a gig pretty much, unless you're at a festival or something. So you don't mix with other bass players generally. It just doesn't, it's not a thing. It doesn't tend to happen unless you do a get together where loads of us sort of get together and go out for a drink or what have you. So very hard to sort of stay in touch that way. But he always knew I was at the end of the phone or an email. He knew he could always get in touch with me. And likewise, I knew if I needed to ask something, it's like, I don't know this. Do you know this? And he would reply, as quick as you like. You post him a message, you'd be in touch within an hour, and he'd know exactly the answer. And this is one of the saddest things for me. I was thinking about it this morning, is that brain and that guy had such an encyclopedic knowledge of bass, music, being a musician, bands. He knew all this stuff, and we've lost it. We've lost it. So I'm hoping his Facebook page remains, and there is so much info on there. I was skirting through it last night, picking out videos and what have you, and this is it's a worrying thing as an ex-journalist, that I see all this stuff and you see all the content, and a lot of this stuff isn't stored. We thank God we have the internet that you can just go on and find out stuff. But Nick knew stuff that isn't there online. He knew stuff about JD basses that I don't think even John Diggins knew or had thought about. And I know when John passed away at the start of 2024, it hit Nick very, very hard. And one of the videos you'll see later, probably towards the end of the live chat, is his little musical tribute to John. And you can tell he's very emotional, very cut up about it. But something I've been saying for a number of years is that, we're very blessed here in the UK to have a very vibrant bass scene. We have a very vibrant luthier scene. Companies that make basses that are the envy of the world. And unfortunately, we're getting into a period of time where these fabulous people are going to start passing away. John Diggins being an example of that. It's not that we have to face up to it, but some of these companies won't exist if they're not passed on to their families or passed on to other people involved in it. So, these changes are going to occur, but we will prevail. Bass will continue, and yeah, here we are. But Nick's knowledge was immense. I can't stress this enough. I wish he'd written a book, but we have his Facebook page. So I'm going to open this up to all you fine people. I'm going to run a couple of videos and then let you guys come in. I'm going to go through the comments. If you want to join by video, join by audio, you can. I will send you an invite by email, and you click on that and I will bring you in. I'm just checking the emails. I can see we've got one or two. Let me just click on the invite and I will send it over to you. There we go. Right. Let's hear some more from the governor.
Yes. I hope you're well. Hello everybody, it's only me down the studio, as always. And tonight I've got my... Oh, look at this lovely old girl. She's a lovely, lovely, lovely 1988 Spectre NS2 bass. The inspiration for this bass was mainly actually Guy Pratt. Hello Guy, I hope you're well, my old mate. Back in the 80s, when he was playing a lot of stadium gigs with Pink Floyd, he used a variety of basses, and he used a Spectre. I thought, that's a really cool looking bass. So here we are. It's a lovely instrument. It's got a Pro-Fro fingerboard, mother of pearl inlay, so you can see. I think you see this in the light. It's a little bit bright, but a lovely flame maple. Just about to see it. Oh, Christ, big bumpy bass. Lovely flame maple body, and it's a very clear. Very clear sounding instrument, so that's the back pickup. Both together, and the front one. And with it being the reverse P pickup, it's a very smooth. My favourite sound is probably both pickups together, bass boosted and treble boosted. So it's a very clear. So there you go. Thank you, Stuart Spectre. All the best.
Here we go. The governor. I'm going to rattle through the comments. Tracy, I can see you there in the waiting room. I will come to you in literally 2 minutes. So let's just go through here. We've got people from all over the world. I knew we would. I knew we would. Stacey Ann, good to see you. Thank you for alerting me that I hadn't pressed for 2 weeks on the trot the go live button and confirmed it. I'd pressed it and not confirmed it. Well done. Thank God for you. Good morning from the sunny but cold southeast US, 28 degrees or -2 degrees, if you will. Quite right. Lise, good to see you. Good to see you. We've got friends of Nick's here from the Level 42 forums. Yeah. Lise, nice to meet you, Stacey, although sorry it's under such awful circumstances. Yeah. So today, you can cry as much as you want. have your tissues to hand. Be happy, be sad. As someone said to me not that long ago when my in-laws have passed away, grief isn't a terrible thing. Grief is love with nowhere to go. So be sad. It's not a bad thing. Cry if you want, but be oh so happy that you had the memories and the interaction with that person, because lots of people didn't. I was very close to filling up earlier on when I started this live chat and then realized I hadn't pressed go live. So at the moment I'm holding it all at bay and I'm doing okay. But there will be a point at some point today where I just blub into tears. I did last night compiling these videos, and it came without any notice. So if you're on here and you're talking, don't worry, you're amongst friends, okay? This is partly the reason why I've done this, because yesterday I had grown men of 50, hardened bass players and musicians in floods of tears because none of this makes any sense. And we've lost a friend and a colleague and someone we rated very highly. So all of this is done with the best intentions, and I understand that there's lots of guys and girls who used to go to the bass shows here in London, and for them that was their yearly dose of camaraderie with like-minded people. We don't have the London Bass Show anymore. There are other guitar shows and what have you, but there was something that the London Bass Guitar Show engendered in the people that went. It wasn't a competition. We were all friends amongst friends. It was good to catch up, and having written for the mag and been involved in the running of the shows and the organisational side and who we got in as guests and what have you, there was something in that build-up that when you got past Christmas and New Year, you knew it was only 2.5 months until the bass show. And I feel, as a bass player, and I talked to, people that we all used to go to the bass shows with, some of that has been lost along the way. Could be COVID, but it just seems like everything's become not hyper competitive, but it's become who's doing better and who's doing better and who's got what gig and da. It doesn't have to be like that. We can all work. We can all play bass. We can all be musicians, but a little compassion and a bit of understanding. And if your mate is on their own and they're not having a great time in their career or they're not getting gigs, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Rest and recharge if you have to. Okay. But I wanted to do this today because Nick knew so many bass players. He knew so many musicians that I just wanted to offer up a platform. It's all well and good doing it on Instagram and Facebook, but you're just reading wadges of text and eventually it just does your head in. And I thought, at least today, if I can say something that gets people in a positive state of mind and we can talk to each other and we can get our memories of Nick out, then if that's given us a couple of hours of respite rather than sitting there thinking on what's happened. But also this can sit here on YouTube and anyone over the years, decades, can find this video, hear what people have got to say about him, hear the memories, hear the stories. He was larger than life. And in my book, that deserves to be celebrated. So anyway, let me rattle through these messages. So Stacey is asking where Lisa was tuning in from, Southeast London. Andy Palmer, good to see you, my friend. Long time no see. We haven't done a curry in a long time. We will do that. We have to do that. If one thing that's come out of this week, we've got to do those things. So I was with Andy the day Prince died. You remember these things. Andy meet Stacey, Stacey meet Andy. Joe Goose, good to see you too. Thank you for coming on. Good to see you. Lisa, I'm a bit of an imposter. No, you're not. I'm not a bassist. That doesn't matter. I knew Nick for 25 plus years. You and me, Lisa and Nick and Colin and Marcus Bone and all those people, we came from the same thing. I've still got emails from when the email digest back in 94 on my drive here. I've got all that stuff. So you see those names, it's like, oh my God. And some of those people I've never met, but I still communicate with because we all had a joint admiration of Level 42. And it's amazing. I have the same thing with certain Duran Duran people, certain Queen people. These bands kind of pull like-minded souls together. So it doesn't matter. But you just wanted to come on, pay your respects, of course. And if you want to come on and chat, no problem. Stacey saying hi to everyone. Andy Palmer, we had great fun together, primarily at London-based guitar shows, didn't we all? Which have sadly ceased. Their bass guitarists made lifelong friendships, and many of those friendships included Nick. Exactly. He was at the centre of a lot of it. He would hold court on the Sims guitar stand, and you knew as you got round that corner in the bottom right-hand side, that's where Nick is. You could hear him before you saw him. And as soon as you came through the doors, you could hear him playing, which was always a good sign. Because if he's playing, he's busy. He's not causing mischief. Stacey, music is the bond, Andy, whether we're playing it or just listen to it. Quite right. Joe Goose saying hello. Patrick Sweeney, good to see you, my friend. I didn't know that you knew Nick, but we work in the same circle, so yeah. Tracy, I'm coming to you very shortly. And you have a personal attachment, of course. Steve Yates, thanks for tuning in, Steve. You never had the opportunity to meet Nick, but it's clear he's a wonderful human being. Sad to lose a great guy. Absolutely. Steve G, hi folks. This chat is a lovely gesture. My pleasure. It was I only had the idea yesterday, and it was just when I'm talking to people and the same subject matter, aside from Nick's passing, was coming up, that people just felt totally lost. And how do we go back to the friendships that we had 10 years ago at the bass shows? I said, those friendships haven't changed. I said, we're all here. It's just people have to be proactive and say hello occasionally, which is why I would, I'd drop Nick a message, just go, hello, governor. You all right? Everything good? Yeah, I'm fine. I'm busy. Just catch you later. Not a problem. We're there. Andy Palmer will know. Andy and I haven't seen each other since about a month before COVID. Yet he knows he can pick the phone up to me tomorrow or this afternoon and we'll have a natter. And as far as I'm concerned, that never changes. And there does definitely seem to be a thing amongst bass players that we're that sort of people. We're very accommodating, very chatty. Life gets in the way, but we're there. You just want to pay your respects to a lovely fella and a great bassist and musician. Thank you, Steve. Patrick Sweeney, you met Nick many times, did a couple of gigs together. Okay. 2 bass players. Oh, of course, the Sims get-togethers, of course. That was enormous fun. We laughed our way through it. I bet you did. I know a couple of the other musicians that were on that, and I heard many a story. Then we've got people saying hello, 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 hello. Tracy, don't worry about crying. It's perfectly okay. I know some of this is hard to watch. I had to collate the videos last night and I had a couple of moments. So don't worry. It's fine. Steve G, I last bumped into Nick at the 2023 London International Guitar Show. Didn't know there was one in London last year. Had a nice chat and he was his usual lovely smiley self. A huge loss for his family and friends and for the wider bass community. Absolutely. Andy Palmer, crazy to laugh and cry all at the same time. As I said, grief is just love with nowhere to go. It's not a bad thing. Don't be ashamed of grieving or crying. Just be grateful that we've had the times we've had. Mick Synth, good to see you. Okay, Tracy, how to ask to join you. It's okay. I've got you here in the green wheel. I can see you at the bottom of my screen. You're fine. Lisa, I remember that Aylesbury festival very well. It was an amazing day. It was lots of people, because a lot of us weren't able to get together for the 98 thing. And I think by the time we got to 99, the digest had kind of become a bigger thing. We were drawing more. I remember the numbers. We had like thousands of people on that list at one point. Nick blew everyone away with his stuff that day. Of course. There were people there still trying to do what he was doing like 10 years later. Bill Derbyshire, good to see you, mate. He came to my house to buy a Stag upright electric bass that I had to sell. It turned out that he had one, but the stand was broken. It was the stand he wanted. He brought the whole thing. Sounds about right. We chatted for ages. All things bass. Lovely bloke. Correct. Stacey Ann, kindred spirits are lovely. Nothing like falling into lockstep with others who share the same love of bass. Yeah, it doesn't have to be. I mean, as I've said, we'll probably have a lot of people on here that aren't bass players, but, they may have a passing interest purely because of Nick's influence. I I get people who come up at gigs and it's like, oh, never thought of playing bass. You're never too old. And Nick would advocate that, you're never too old. I mean, many of the people that he used to teach guitar and bass to were older guys who suddenly got to a certain age in life and they wanted to do that when they were younger and life got in the way and they couldn't do it. He would always, promote people and say, come on, you can do this. If we can do it, you can do it. There's no mystery here. It's not alchemy. Gary Dungar, good to see you. I had the pleasure of meeting Nick when he started E-Basses. Yes. Nick and I had many chats about that at the time. I think they had about 5 or 6 different models. And actually, back then, I had a website and he sent me all the stuff. He said, can you put some of this up on your website? I said, yes, yeah. Send me the images. I'll do it all. Unfortunately, something happened with Ian. I can't remember if they just closed the business down or Ian decided sort of to give it a rest for a while. But Nick did become reacquainted with one of those basses through Andy Travis on Bass Chat. Andy managed to track a bass down and get it back to Nick last year, and I know it made him very, very happy. Along with Ian, he helped me design my dream bass, a Bird's Eye Maple top 5 string, a beauty. Legend R.I.P. Correct. Bill Derbyshire, I watched him at the Sim stand at the bass show. Very impressive. He was always impressive. Nick was impressive in his sleep. He could play. He could just play, and it's something that he worked on as a young kid when he first became musical. And like I say, the fact his dad owned Peterborough Music meant it allowed him to experience all this high, top of the range gear, because at the time in the 80s and early 90s, bass was all the rage, and the Bass Centre were testimony to that. There was a burgeoning market for bass exotica. So Nick was able to experience all that stuff sort of pretty early on. Lucky beggar. Stacey, oh yes, knowing which notes to leave out is magic. Bernard Edwards said that. The power is in the edit. Absolutely. Lauren Quintana, you had the chance to chat with him a few times. Farewell, Nick. Thinking about you and your family. Thank you. Patrick, I once sat in a pub drinking with Nick, Stuart Zender, Phil Mann and Jerry Meehan. No guesses as to who was the worst bassist there. You sell yourself short, Patrick. I've seen you in action. Stacey, maybe this is the opportunity to start the Nick Bass. Maybe that's what we should christen him. The Nick Bass. The Nick Smith Bass Hang, a bass player's physical gathering in tribute. Not a bad idea. There will be people who would organise that. Matt Bell, good to see you. Welcome. Nick was a lovely man. We never met in person, but exchanged a few messages about bass guitars, of course. He laid on me some good advice. He had great advice all the time. I've tried, you know what? I've been racking my brain since yesterday, trying to go through everything we nattered about when I last saw him. But it was just literally, if someone had recorded it, you wouldn't want to listen to it back. So it was literally one sentence. And it just didn't stop. And I remember coming out and thinking, God, I'm knackered, but it was a good chat. We just had so much to catch up on. And he was, how's the family and how's the dogs and and what about all this and how's things with you and how's the gardening business? And it just didn't stop. But that's what happens when you haven't seen someone that you get on well with for a while. That tends to be what happens. Ray Perso, good to see you. Nick was a genuine and kind friend. We kept in touch over many years. We first met at the Bass Guitar Show many years ago. This was the thing. Bass Show ran from 2011 through till 2019. The last one, 2019, was the Guitar and Bass Show. But there was something about that show. And Joel, my old editor, and I have both said, if we could have bottled what made those shows so good, we would. We'd be rich men. Because there is no bass show as it was. And not a week goes by. I said it on the live chats before Christmas. Not a week goes by where I don't get people messaging me saying, when's the next bass show? When's the next? It doesn't exist. The magazine doesn't exist in a published form anymore. It just exists as a free-flowing website and on Music Radar. So without the publisher's support to do that show, the show can't exist. Now, I know there are some new shows being put forward by various people this year. As far as I'm aware, they're not supported by a full-blown publisher, and that's the problem, because these things cost a lot of money to run, and you've got to have serious backing, but you've also got to have all the promotion that goes with it, because we were very lucky that all the people at the show would do an interview. All the manufacturers would have gear for us to review. Everything had a follow-on from it. So people would often say to me, what are you actually doing at the show? I was racking up usually between 15 and 20 reviews of gear that would then come out over the next 12 months, on top of 10 to 15 interviews and the show roundup. And. So while you were there at the bass show, not being a punter, I was working, but you could actually create a workload that would keep you in work with the magazine for the next 12 months. And it took the first... So Joel's first show was 2013. I said to him, I think in 2015, this is what we need to do from now on. It's not come in on the Saturday and just do Saturday and Sunday. We need to come in on Friday, stay overnight, and then we're ready to go on Saturday. But on the Friday, we can go round and line up all the stuff that we want to cover for the weekend in terms of gear. But also, while the show is empty, we can take the gear from the stands, go and review it, and the exhibitors don't have a grievance that the gear's not on their stand while I'm off reviewing it and having it photoed. But also, we can do loads of it before the show. And that's what we did. So 2016, 17, 18 and 19, I was in that show on the Friday, trying to do as much of the work as possible. So it meant we had a bit more room to maneuver on features, interviews and things that might crop up during the running of the show. But it would also mean that the review stuff was put to bed early, which then meant we could just do a lot more stuff that would then eventually end up in the magazine. And obviously Nick was part of that. I'd go and see him on the Friday and say, right, what have you got for whoever he was? Because he wasn't always there with Sims. He was there with other companies as well. And say, what have you got? Oh, well, we've got this, we've got that. I said, right, can I take that now? And I'll do it. I'll bring it back to you in an hour and a half. He said, well, it doesn't matter. There's no one here, is there? Correct. That was the whole idea of doing it. Funky Hobbit, Mark Palmer, good to see you. Schlappertronics, exactly. You should trademark that. Lisa Devlin, I first knew Nick before he turned pro. Yeah, when he was still working as a technical writer. Correct. He was contemplating quitting the day job and making the jump. He asked me about that a number of times because obviously I'd done it in 95. And he said, well, how do you afford to do it? I said, mate, it's networking. I said, but you've got loads of contacts. You've got loads of network. I said, but it takes a leap of faith. If you are confident in your ability and you're a nice guy and you can network, you can make a living doing this. And I don't know if any of what I said resonated. It might have done, it might not. But lo and behold, we get into the 2000s and he took that jump. So, you know, I'm sure instigation from me and hundreds of others probably helped him make that jump. Hugh Birkenhead, you lovely chap. Good to see you. Yeah, so there's Mark. Afternoon, Mike, and all the rest of the folks. Such a sad time. Here we have Hugh Birkenhead, the legend that is Hugh Birkenhead. Good to see you, Hugh. Whew, are we going to have a drink when I next see you? Thank you for coming in, Hugh. If you want to join the live chat by video or audio, you can. Just email me, brooks'sbasscorner@gmail.com. Ray Perso, we never get over grief. We learn to live with it and carry on, and that is all we can do. Correct. I hear you. We remember our loved ones and have good and bad days. Correct. We try to remember the good times. Absolutely. Graham Potts, good to see you. Big hug to everyone. Thank you, Graham. Andy Travis. Andy and I have never actually spoken. We have meandered our way across Bass Chat over about nearly 20 years. We've never actually had a chat. Andy, it's good to see you. Thank you for joining in. Andy reacquainted Nick with the bass, the 2000 bass that Ian made. What was the brand? What was the brand? Mike, you look like an idiot. We were just speaking about it. I think it was E-Bassist. Thank you. There we go. So good to see you, Andy. Thank you for joining in. Joe Goose, rest in peace, Nick Smith. He was about to drive down in the near future to come and hang out with me. We were talking about this the other week, weren't we, Joe? Wanted to learn a few bebop licks. Really sad that session never happened. Yeah. Ray Perso, yes, the memories from the email digest and the slow modems we used to use dial-up, didn't we just? Oliver Bowen, good to see you. Such a legend, I'm devastated. Nick Smith may be gone, but Dr. Bass never dies. Correct. He's there. Before I was even looking at his videos last night, yesterday I was out walking the dogs, my phone was going mental. I could hear him nattering away in my head from conversations we'd had in the past. The voice won't leave. The fact his Facebook page is there. Hopefully his family will keep that up. This is here as well. Maybe this is something we'll do yearly. Maybe we'll have a get together for Nick every January. And during the crappy month that January usually is, let's maybe all get together and wish him all the best. Joe Goose, he was very kind. He wanted to pay me for the session, but I said, no way. I'm not a pro musician, and I'm sure I would have learnt just as much from Nick. Joe, you would have learnt a lot from Nick, I guarantee that. By all means, some of the videos I'm playing here are freely watchable on his Facebook page, so there's lots of content in there for people to watch. Ray Perso, yes, the Sims guitar stand when I first met Nick many years ago. Loz196, good to see you. Welcome. I recognise your picture from Bass Chat. Very welcome here. You met Nick a good few times at the Hearts Bass Bashes. Simply a great guy. Absolutely. Gary, this is so hard. We nearly talk message every few weeks. In 2017, about Sims pickups, which led to me buying an Enfield. We met up frequently when he gigged in Norwich. Such a guru and a gentle giant. Every time I've been in the Peterborough area in the past couple of years, I'd ring him and I'd say, do you want to come to the show tonight? It'd be nice to actually just hang out. He said, I can't, I'm doing a gig myself. And that was always the case. And it's just the way it is. If you're a working bass player, very rare, if you might get the occasional weekend off, but very often you're not going to mix with other bass players because on a gig, there's only one bass player. So you... trying to have any sort of social life, as my other half will attest, it's difficult, but it's what we do. Graham, he was an absolute legend. I think half of my bass collection was once owned by Nick at some point. Yeah, it sounds familiar. I want to get to Tracy shortly, so I'm going to bring you on live very shortly. Ray Perso, I last spoke to Nick last September. He was coming over to help me with my garden and with some bass lessons, but both got busy and it never happened. You got to make these things happen. Don't let life sidestep you. Gotta do these things. John Channing, welcome. Didn't know Nick personally, but I'm paying my respects being a fellow bass chatter. The outpouring of love for him has been incredible. Rest in peace, Nick. My condolences and best wishes to his family and friends. Thank you, John. Lauren, I remember asking Nick about the Sims pickups. Sorry, I'm on StreamYard here and it keeps, as I press the button on the mouse, it takes it off. I remember asking Nick about Sims pickups, JD bass guitars. He always replied to every question because that's the guy he was. As a world-class artist and a gentleman. Correct. Lee Devlin, how many times are we going to say correct today? Lots. Correct. Schlappatronic was one of Nick's sayings. That's when the teeth aren't in. I have that most Saturdays. Don't worry about that. Nick was always at the front when it came to new gear. He knew stuff before I'd even seen it, and I worked for the mag. And he'd say, have you got those amps in yet? And it'd be like, no. What are you talking about? Oh, well, they're bringing out a da-da-da-da-da. Right, okay. He had a strong connection with Rob Green at Status. Yes, he did, which got him into trouble. And this story has been recalled several times, and I was thinking about it this morning, but it is relevant. So when Mark and Rob created the King bass, now I'm not sure if was this for the King bass 2 or the King bass original Mark 1. So basically, Status did a promotional thing on Australian TV, and they wanted Nick to demo the basses, which was great, fine. Except Mark hadn't given his okay to it, and Mark hadn't had the basses in his hands. So Nick actually played Mark's King basses before they got to Mark, and Mark found out. And I can't remember if Nick told him he'd had them or it was relayed to him. Oh, yes, they've been played on Australian TV, but Mark wasn't best impressed. But never mind. Nick did a blinding job, as always. Yeah, here we go. Mark demo. Sorry. Remember when Nick demoed the first 2 King basses on live Australian TV before Mark King had even taken delivery, and Mr. King was a bit huffed? Yes, he was. Although he paid him a very nice tribute yesterday when he was told. what's happened. George Iliadis, all the way from Australia. Good to see you, George. Welcome. You didn't know Nick. Sorry to hear about this loss. Thank you. He sounds like he was a great guy. He was a great guy. He was. Stacey, hey, George. Good to see you, even under such sad circumstances. And then Lisa Devlin talking to Mark Palmer. I'd forgotten about that. Here's what I'm talking about. Yes, sir. Nick passed away on Tuesday night. Clearly, obviously, you didn't know. So that's what today's live chat's about. We're remembering Nick and all the good memories, all the good stories. Left us way, way too early. I've said we're not going to sort of surmise what has happened. Tracy might have an inkling, but we'll wait until family and police and what have you tell the rest of us what's going on. But yeah, unfortunately, Nick passed away on Tuesday night at the age of 54, I think. It's going to be a quieter bass community here in the UK. Yeah, right. On that note, let's watch the governor, shall we?
Hello. Yes. It's me. Hello, everybody. Uncle Nicholas here in the studio. It's about 20 to 4 on Monday. I've been here since... Hello. Yes. It's me. Hello, everybody. Uncle Nicholas here in the studio. It's about 20 to 4 on Monday. I've been here since yesterday, and I didn't get in.
That video's not having it. Sorry, that video, for some reason, doesn't want to run. So let's have a bit of this instead. Looks like we've got technology issues for some reason. Some of these videos just don't want to play. They will. We'll get there. Okay, let's just refresh a little here. So, welcome. This is Brooks's Bass Corner live chat 97. Slightly different live chat this Saturday. We've lost one of our bass brothers here in the UK, Mr. Nick Smith, known far and wide across the UK and across the planet. People in America know him. People in Australia know him. People all over the planet know him because he was known far and wide for his playing ability, amazing bass playing technique, knowledge, and he was Doctor of the Bass. Joe Goose. Nick had his slap technique down. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. A great player. He did make it look effortless. Quite right. Yeah, I mean, I could sit there and just watch him all day. But the thing is, he would let me do that. He would quite happily just play around for as long as he wanted. We've got one of his good friends. We all know him. We all love him here on Brooks's Bass Corner. We've got Mr. Jaymi Millard coming in from the States. Good to see you.
Hello, Mr.
That's what I like to see.
We are in.
He's a shrinking violet, of course.
Yes.
There we are.
Yeah.
How are you, my friend?
Oh, well, we're doing all right. I just finished up the gym, which is a great place to kick out any aggression or any kind of sorrow, shall
That's
we
it.
say. So, yeah.
So, your memories of the man. When did you first meet?
So, ironically, we met on a JD page way back when I was out hunting for the sound of Mr. Ma King. And
Of course.
we spoke about all kinds of things. He was the first one to share kind of JD about what they did. There were four. There's a guy called Paul Ruth. Between the two of them, they kind of gave me the rundown on everything JD. And I do have a funny story I've got to tell you. I was holding out on this one because I wanted to share it with you.
This is what we want, the gold dust.
Tea. All right, since you said, we're going to have a cup of tea, yeah. So, okay. We'd gone to NAMM, and this was probably 2016, maybe 2017. And he and I and Martin Sims, we were all hanging at the Sims bass booth, with the pickup and all. And we were talking about one of my other favorite subjects, which also known as curry, right?
Curry, yep.
So the idea was, as I was explaining that I had been there the previous year, and there was a place down the way called Marsala, which would have given them just butt kicking, a thrashing, if you will. And they both looked at me like I was daft and said, "You don't know what a curry is. You're not from." And so as a challenge, I said, the two of you lads, here's what's going to happen. If I'm wrong and you think I'm a tweaker or what have you on curry, I'll buy. And I'll even throw in a livener just for fun, buzz, So the two of them were kind of chuckling at Nick with voices. "Oh, we're going to do it right, mate. You're going to get fine." So we jumped into this place. I ordered for them. And they were both like, "I don't know. You don't know anything." I think 3 bites in, they're both sweating, crying, and say, "Oh, you do know what a curry?" Yeah. So they ended up buying, and they ended up buying the live.
Quite right.
Yeah.
Quite right. So let me think. So clearly both JD fans. So how did that? To me, that's a meeting of minds and a clashing of personalities.
Totally, utterly.
Say again.
It was totally a lot of fun, though. I mean, we didn't clap. We just went like this, and we became brothers at that point. And ironically, Martin Sims was in the midst of it because I had a hot pink JD with sparkle lights on the fretboard that would have a sensitivity control, and the light touch, the less of the light would go off.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know if he does that anymore, but this thing top notch. This was well done. And so I would use it as an intro to the show. And I started with Martin Sims in that discussion, and Nick, of course, and we just kind of carried it on from there. And then for the next couple of years going to NAMM show prior to the big C, if you will, we all spent time, and the curry thing was our deal. And no matter what we were doing, we were having a blast.
Excellent.
Yep.
Your abiding memory?
The one that will remain?
I mean, there's so many. Yeah, I mean, there's so many.
There's quite a few. I need to be really serious for. It wasn't yesterday. It was the day prior. I was actually arising from the bed, if you like, waking up from sleep, and I heard a voice in my head say, "He's with me." And I knew right. I haven't told anyone, but I figured I would tell you because we're mates, and everybody. And for who's listening and who's on, that's jolly. That's good, because I didn't expect to hear a voice like that, but it gave me to understand. So when Ali Hall spoke about the findings and stuff, I had a little bit of closure with understanding. It didn't make it any less saddening, but at least I understood Nick in a safe place. And I went with that.
Yeah.
So anyway, so not to bring anybody down or anything.
That's all right.
I mean,
that's okay.
It's important to share. We have the laughs, but there's some things too, that are serious, and we all, like you and I were speaking about the other day. We're here to, and on all of my videos, I always share with, and I'm leaving with a bass in my hand. Love one another because it's all we got, and it's the truth. We do need to take care of one another and look out, even if it's a challenge sometimes. Some folks be that way, but have no issue. So I like to look after folks and let them know that I care for them. So, you know, that's why I said you're a top mate, because I believe that. And I believe that with all my
checks in the post.
no worries on the show. But, you know, yeah. I'll take that lovely
cool.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I bet you would. Yeah. Well, actually, very shortly, I'm going to try running the videos again, because there's a video clip of Nick playing the alembic that I bought from him last year, which obviously I've got here now, has a greater sentimentality than I thought. In fact, let's just try and run that now, shall we?
Go for it.
I'm going to just mute our windows down. Bear with me, mate.
No worries.
Yes.
I've got that here because I've got a I didn't want to not pop in. You know what I mean?
Of course. That's all right. I'm just going to mute your mic. Just bear with me a moment. The media's having a time of its life running through StreamYard. We'll try again. I'll try and get another video. Hold on.
Hello again, everybody. It's only me again, coming from the studio. Just cleaned up the old JD bass. It's going tomorrow, sadly. But there we are. It's a shame, but these things happen. It's a lovely bass, and here it is. Here's some footage of the bass guitar. Let's have a look. Let's see if we can sort this out. Here we go. Look at this. Look, it's come up. I've just given it a good old valet. There's a little ding there on the side, but overall condition for a 39-year-old guitar. Look at them frets. It's come off a tree. A 39-year-old bass guitar is in extremely good condition, I think. Here's the headstock. Can you see the famous mother of pearl inlay there with a bound headstock? Very, very iconoclastic. So let's have a look. This is the front pickup. The neck pickup, I should say. Almost like a P bass. Both pickups together now, which is more early level 42. Quite a bit of depth there, actually. And then the back pickup, which is more of a mid-80s sort of sound. That oh, I switched it off. Sorry. It's got a standby. Look, there's a little light. See a little light there. That's off. Went too fast. That's the back pickup. So that's on again. Sorry about that. Proves it works. It's more of a out of practice. Another quick video this evening. This time I've got my Fender Jaco Pastorius Jazz Fretless, which is another fantastic bass. I just had the sad news that
we're back. The media's not running as well as it should. I apologise. I'll try.
Another quick video this evening. This time I've got my Fender Jaco Pastorius Jazz Fretless, which is another fantastic bass. I just had the sad news that Jeff Becker's passed away, so very sad to hear that. An amazing player. So here we go.
It's not having it, is it? We'll have to come back to the videos later. Could be the Wi-Fi here. I say Wi-Fi, we're connected by the Ethernet cable. Could just be our speed here in West London. Might not be as great as I'd hoped. We'll come back to the clips. Anyway, there's a load of messages here. Let's have a look. Mark Palmer. Those overdubbed foreign style monologues he did. I'm bringing you live again, Jaymi. He did were mint. Reminds me of watching the spaghetti westerns. Nick had such a great sense of humour. Yes, he did. He was a very funny chap. Stacey, there's the favourite pink bearded soul. You got a fan, Jaymi. You got a fan. Josh de Groot, welcome. Good to see you. I don't think we've ever actually spoken face to face. This might be a first. Josh, welcome. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. Joe Goose, you've watched many of Mr. Pinkbassman's JD videos. Joe, Jaymi, Joe. Both big JD fans. Andy Travis, wish there was enough space to type the daft interactions we've had. Good to see so many familiar faces and names. Well, the bass community is a small place. We're a small bunch of people, but we make a big noise, and we do try and look after each other as much as we can. You know this, Andy, because you're on Bass Chat. I'm always very aware. Dan Veal, there you are. Good to see you. Thank you for joining in. I've known Dan, well, it's got to be latter end of the 2000s. 2008, maybe? 2009. Dan, I'm very pleased you've joined in. I know the life hassles you've got, so thank you. I appreciate it. Nick would appreciate it as well. Where are we? What was I saying to Andy? Yes, the whole bass community thing. You know, we do. When I was at the magazine, we would have this discussion because we were producing a magazine for a very small sized audience. If you think about it, bass players pale into insignificance compared to the numbers of guitar players out there. Yet we managed to keep that magazine going as long as we possibly could. And I remember sitting down with Joel when he'd just become the editor in 2012. So obviously we'd ended with Oyster Media. Blaze Publishing had taken the magazine on. Joel and I sat down, and I remember one of the very first things he said to me over coffee was, we have to be realistic. Publishing is not the world it once was. Magazines are being closed down left, right, and centre. Yet somehow this magazine has been bought, and the new publishers are willing to make it a going concern. We're going to give it a good go. And I said, well, that suits me fine. That suits me fine, right down to the ground. I'm fine with that. I have no problem with that. So I said, let's just work as hard as we possibly can. And if it lasts a year, so be it. And if it lasts 5 years, we've had a good run. And if it lasts more than that, be grateful. And we managed to make it last 10 years. We kept the magazine going that long. I was just his wingman. But Joel, the publishers, going from Blaze to Future, we kept that train running for 10 years. So, you know, we had a good go. But always at the back of my mind, and Joel's a bass player as a hobby. It's not his living. For me, it is that every month I wanted to make sure we came out with the very best magazine we could to provide the bass community with what they deserved, which was a decent quality, decent content magazine. Now, at times we've been slated and slandered that we didn't do that. It was hard. It was hard. Trying to do that on a monthly basis was seriously hard work. But at the bottom of it, I always felt we had a care of duty because Bassist magazine had been so good. And I remember when BGM first came out in 2002, and I got on board at the end of 2003, start of 2004. Bassist had kind of led the way, sort of, you know, thrown the gold coins on the ground, and we were there picking them up. So we had a framework to work from, but also Bass Player in America was the leading light. And it was like, well, how do we get to that level? And I was always of the opinion that we could do it, but it would take a lot of work and graft. And as it did, it took a lot of editors, several publishers, but we got there. And by the time BGM acquired, well, the publishers acquired Bass Player, we were reeling in Bass Player. I know when Future would go to NAMM and they would have piles of the magazines up along the wall, and BGM would be gone before Bass Player had even kind of been touched, and we were like, wow, okay, someone likes our writing then. And that's what we did. And there was talk, I remember we did have a chat about seeing if we could get Nick involved. I do remember that conversation. And I think at the time we were kind of limited, we were a bit hamstrung on in terms of wages and things like that. And it was like, well, how many writers can we support? And I think by that point also Nick was just so busy. He had so much going on, especially with his teaching and doing his setup business and gigs left, right, and centre. But I do remember we certainly mentioned it, and Dan obviously came in and joined in the latter stages. So but we had a good run. But the bass community is a small community, but it looks after its own.
That's true.
In my experience. Experience. And that's a global thing. That's not just a national thing. I think because we are such a small crowd compared to guitarists, but then the best things come in small packages, don't they? I've got someone asking for a thing here. Mick the Greek. We've passed each other many a time. I couldn't miss the opportunity to acknowledge Nick and his contribution to Bass World. First met Nick, but are you joining in the chat here? Okay, I'm going to send Mick, I don't know if he's come in here, I'm going to send him an invite and see if he wants to join in. He and I have passed on many occasions. We were always too busy to say hello. One of us going one way, one's going the other. But I know exactly who he is. Let me just send him this. Mick, here is an invite if you wish to join us now by video or audio. Nice to have so many people from Bass Chat with us today. Thank you for joining in on this sad occasion. Not the Saturday live chat I thought I was going to be presenting this week, but needs must, and I'm not letting Nick disappear. There we go. So there's Stacey, there's Dan, superstar. Stacey, what a beauty, 39 years old. Andy Palmer, big love to you all. Having to check out, okay. Jaymi, underpinning that our bass community is something really special. Nick Smith remains in our hearts. Yes, he does. Mr. Palmer, we will go for curry soon. I will be in touch. I'll be over your way a lot over the next coming months because all my Uncle Funk work tends to be over that way. Well said, sir.
Yes,
Stacey saying bye. There's Dan Veal. Good to see you. I'm just finding all these messages. Mark Willis, welcome. Good to see you. Dan Veal, I'm so grateful for the opportunity you both gave me to join the MAG team, and I adored every last minute until the doors closed. There we go. I've not said to you, Dan, because I haven't seen you since you joined the MAG. Obviously, Joel gave you the job. It was my instigation. I can assure you, I remember sitting with Joel having coffee in Beaconsfield, and we were talking about people who were applying to be writers and And I said, you know who we need to get, because I'd mentioned it many occasions. I said, we need Dan Veal. Dan is who we need to add to the writing team. And he was like, would you vouch for him? I said, absolutely. Absolutely. And I know we approached you 2 or 3 times and you were busy and you were worried about conflicts with the other mags and stuff. And then it came round again and Joel said, would you still get Dan on board? I said, just do it. Just get him on board. That's how you came on board, mate. I haven't seen you since 2019, I think. If it wasn't 2019, it'd be 2018, which was the last proper bass show. 2019 was the guitar and bass show.
We definitely need a proper bass show in the UK, if nowhere else.
Yeah.
You know what, man? I would love to come back across the pond and spend some time with everybody. I would love that personally.
Yeah.
Maybe selfish, but it'd just be nice to get to know everybody in person.
It would. There's a thing going on in March in Birmingham, which is a guitar and bass thing. A bass thing on its own. There is a company and a publication trying to do something. But, I mean, I had a look on their website yesterday and there's like no exhibitors listed. They've got some people performing, but it all seems a bit, dare I say it, and I don't mean to be rude, it seems a bit pie in the sky. And there is another company trying to do another bass show in London the day before, which makes absolutely no sense to me. I don't know what is going on. Both of those shows might happen. Neither of them might happen. But what you experience certainly through the London bass show, Mick the Greek, I can see you there. I will add you in 2 seconds, my friend. What you experienced in London has never been replicated. That show for bass players, once it was up and running and we got the cogs working, so once Joel was on board, and Joel's first show was 2013, once we'd done that year's one and 2014, it was like we could do that show in our sleep. We knew from the magazine's perspective how to maximize the opportunities we had at the show, how to guarantee the content that would be in the magazine for the next 12 months, but also how to get absolutely every last drop of love and support for the bass community out of it and then feed it back into the mag. And I think that is what people remember. And like I say, not a week goes by, I don't get a message, either an email or a social media comment, something here on the YouTube channel, where someone will say to me, when's the next London bass show? And it's like, it doesn't exist. There isn't one. And again, it's the finances that will control whether that happens again or not, Jaymi, because it needs a good publisher behind it. I mean, anyone can put on a show, but it's the logistics and the finances that will determine if that can happen. And again, to our detriment as a bass community, we're a small number compared to guitarists. So people look at it and go, there's not a financial opportunity in there for me to make money. It could change. Hopefully someone somewhere will think this is a good idea, we should do it. But they're unaware of sort of what our community is about and you know, the love and support we have in it. Stacey, tell you what, BGM was the absolute heat. Here we go. I've said many times as a former graphic designer how absolutely beautifully laid out it was. Photography and clearly written content was top notch. Thank you, Stace. Well done. Dan, you got to pop out back in a bit. No problem. We'll be here for a couple of hours, my friend. No problem. Stacey, bass player, in my humble opinion, never held a candle to BGM. Well, thank you, Stace. It did. Before we came along and were doing good things, it was the level you wanted to reach. And, you know, we worked hard to get there. And I think by the end, we got there. Also, to bass players' detriment, they had allowed the quality to slide. Because I remember looking at the John Taylor issue in 2015 and thinking, this is like a pamphlet. There's nothing to it. It's just a load of adverts and about 4 pages of content. What the hell is this? And we weren't. We were 110 pages of good stuff, I like to think. But there we are. I'm going to bring Mick the Greek to the stage. Good to see you, sir. And let me get rid of that banner and that message. That's Stacey's message, by the way. You and I have crossed paths many, many occasions. And I've always gone, I know him. And then I've ended up going in one direction, you went in the other. So it's very nice to make your acquaintance. I'm sorry it's in such sad situation. Yeah. Memories of Nick. How did you know him? How did you get to know him?
My first encounter with Nick was when I traded my wal with him. He at the time had a green overwater that I tried to buy off eBay, but it sold to somebody else. So he gave me that green overwater, a pink JD GA,
Yes.
the George Anderson model, and a Fender S1 in return
Right.
for the while. He came to my home. I thought he was just going to, you know, like many people who have met Nick, you think, oh, it's just going to be a 5-10 minute conversation. I think he was here a couple of hours.
Yes. That's what I
And,
was saying.
and as you've said, you know, limitless information. You know, he was a resource that he just knew everything, didn't he? He knew everybody, everything. If you needed to know anything, Nick was the go-to man. And
That's it.
that was the first time I did any business with Nick, but that was not the last by a long way. I mean, he got me my first Status King bass.
Mm.
He actually, you know, I rang him up and said, Nick, look, I'm looking for this. Lo and behold, a few weeks later, he's got a King bass for me.
Yeah. That sounds familiar. Well, I should say, because people will be going, he seemed to have a lot of green basses. This was as a result of his fascination with Chris Squire and Chris's green Meridian bass. Jaymi shaking his head, yeah. It's his 90125 bass. He really did have, I would say, we all know his love for Mark King. I think Chris Squire was on an equal pedestal because he and I conversed several times about what made Chris Squire great. And he was just like, I'm just in love with the man. Just, I love his playing. I love everything about the guy's approach to bass and how he could do the singing and his lines. And so if ever people look back in years to come and go, God, he had a lot of green basses, that's where it comes from. He just loved Chris Squire's green Meridian. And
It was
would have,
his favourite colour as well. It was Nick's
Thank
favourite
you,
colour.
there we
Also,
go.
if you ever saw Nick on stage, and you really watched him, he would emulate some of the stuff that Chris Squire did on the
Yeah,
stage. So
absolutely.
you would see some of those things. He loved him. He absolutely loved him.
Yeah,
The other
he
thing,
really did. Go on, mate.
the other thing with Nick was that he was the advocate for Trace Elliott, wasn't he? He was
Yeah.
I mean, again, he knew everything about Trace Elliott.
Because he'd worked in the shop with his dad and they were a big Trace supplier. So he was
He
there.
He was a great lover of the sound, wasn't he?
Yeah.
The Mark King connection, obviously. But he loved Trace Elliott. And again, if you ever had any questions about Trace Elliott, Nick was the man to go to.
Actually, almost any amplification
subject,
brand. When I first met him, he had a huge SWR rig. And then the next time I saw him, he'd gone on to EBS. Then he went to Aguilar. Then he went to something else. Then it never stopped. And I was like, it's like production. I said, do you ever keep anything? He's like, nah. He said, it's just here. It's all just part of the job, isn't it? He said, there'll always be something else comes along and you think, well, I want that and I want that. And he lived like that with his gear. Even when I saw him last year, I said, still with Mark Bassist. Yeah, I went, cool, that's a miracle, isn't it? And then there was something else hanging out. He said, oh, but the bass you're coming to buy, which was this, which was this Alembic Persuader, which I bought off him, which there was the video.
Happy to look after that for you.
I thought you might be, yeah. I said, so what are you doing with the money? Because this was a tidy little sum. I said, what's the money for? I said, you're not hard up at the moment, are you? He said, no. It's a business. It's great. I said, so what are you using the money for? I'm buying a JD and a Rickenbacker in the morning. I was okay. Well, I'm glad I financed that for you. That's fine.
That might have been the blue one. That might have been the blue.
Yes, I think it was a black Rick, but he was going to have it resprayed green, he was saying. So I don't know if that happened or not.
Right.
But,
The JD was one he said was Big Kev's, is what he used to tell me. It's a fretless he had JD respray Pearl Blue.
No, he had that done. That was done earlier in the year. So when I saw him, it was July. But it was the red. It was the red roadie that he bought. Right. You know, the 2 pickup one. I will try and play a video of it a little later. He had seen that, so he'd been waiting to sell this bass. But I had told him in, I think the June, I said, I would like to buy that off you, but I'm waiting for some money that I'm due to come in. I said, but until that comes in, I can't come and buy it. I can't afford that until the money comes in. He went, oh, that's all right. I'll just keep hold of it until you're ready. And then when it did appear, I was like, I can come and get that, and I'm doing a gig in Wellingborough on the same day, so it makes sense that I'm actually I'll come up to you and then drop back down from a gig. He was like, oh, that's fine, that's fine. He said, but please don't let it go into the next month, because those 2 basses I'm after will have sold. I was like, oh, okay, all right. But you know, he knew a good bass. You know, he never had any tat. That's for sure.
Well, he picked the JD Series 2, the blue denim one. I actually reposted a video from his page. He called me out on it because I kept messing with him. He was calling me a cheeky bastard. He used to say to me,
never.
The whole JD thing, right? He would, you know, that voice he would do where he would kind of go, he would add a different to his voice, a different accent to his voice. Oh, you cheeky bastard, you know.
Mm.
And so he made sure that I got called out on the blue denim JD.
He could have had a career in comedy, I swear.
Oh, definitely.
But yeah, Mick, it's a pleasure to see you, man. I've followed your posts on Bass Chat and what have you, so you know I've known you and in fact, did you buy a bass from Bass Gear in Twyford probably about 10 years ago? You were doing some trade-in something. I think you were in there, and I was doing a review day for the magazine, and then I saw your face like a couple of weeks later at the bass show, and I was like, that's the guy from Bass Gear. Do you remember Bass Gear with Phil and Barry and Vic?
Yeah, I had.
I think you were doing a trade-in.
I bought a Ritter from
That's
them.
it. That was it.
The grey one. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think I'm trying to think whether or not Nick facilitated the sale for me or not.
Probably.
I mean, I've posted a photograph of Nick at one of our bass bashes in Hatfield with him playing my Ritter, that Ritter we're talking about. And the thing I hated about Nick was he would always make your gear sound so much better than you ever could.
Well, I took my GB with me when I went to buy the Alembic, so I had my basis from a gig that night, and I thought, well, in case the Alembic isn't that great and I don't buy it, I need to make sure I've got my stuff here. And he said, oh, what you got with you today? And I said, well, I've got the GB, and I had the might have had the Warwick Bootsy with me. He said, well, the Warwick Bootsy, he said, I know how that's going to sound because it's a Warwick. I went, okay, fair enough. He said, but the GB, I need to be having a go on that. And he'd had a number of GBs that I know you have as well, Mick. And yeah, you know, he takes your bass out and makes it sound better than when you play it. So it was like, well, you know, I'm not going to argue the point. Is just let him get on and enjoy it.
Every time he come round, we'd normally meet at my flat, but every time he come round, you'd want to give up playing. He had that effect. He just made everything look so effortless, and he just the master of the instrument.
Yeah, I think he put in a lot of work when he first started, because I remember him. Actually, I remember someone asking him, where were we? It might have been a level 42 thing, and someone said to him, "How did you become such a great slapper?" And he said, well, it's because I grew up with a precision. He said, I learnt to slap on a precision, so it's hard work. If you then go from a precision, and I think he probably did go, I think he went, and I could be wrong, someone will know better than I. Maybe he went precision to like a West tone or an aria, and then went to a JD. So he'd had a bass with wide fingerboards, heavy gauge strings, and then you suddenly go over on something like a JD with lighter strings and a really nice setup. It's like a duck to water, isn't it? It's like, well, suddenly everything I've tried to do is like 3 times easier.
He had P bass. The P bass that he always described was the one he had done like Jim Harris's bass, I believe. The
red one.
Yeah, because he was working it, and he's like P bass. It takes effort to play it, come to it. So when you get on an Alembic, you get on a wall or something, it's like, oh, look, we're doing all this stuff.
It's effortless. Yeah.
That's truth. That's absolute truth.
Yeah. So he certainly put in the yards in like his early days when he's sort of in his formative play. But again, as I keep saying, you know, his dad had Peterborough Music, so he was able to see all the good gear as it came through and part exchanges and all of that. So he was able to sort of cherry pick that nice stuff and have exposure to it. So it was all good, but it was halcyon days, you know. Well, it was bass exotica left, right, and centre. It was plenty of it.
We need that
Say again.
again.
I don't know if the money is in the industry to. Very hard. It was a different time. I've had this chat with Barry Morehouse at the Bass Centre, and you know, he says it was of its time. Will we ever get to that again? You know, bass players came out from being in the shadows to centre stage with Mark King, and within 10 years we'd gone back of the stage again. So it's whether bass becomes fashionable. Can it ever sort of? It's not having a level of exposure. It's I guess it did become trendy. It was a trendy thing. If you said you were a bass player, it was, and every big band that was around at that period in the 80s had good bass players.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, if you look now at bands, how many great bass players are there? And what accentuates that? Well, thank you. What accentuates that point is before the magazine stopped, we had our awards thing that was done. They were all YouTubers.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't band players. They were YouTube. They were individual bass players who have a high presence online. And it's like, how have we got to that point? But we have. Things could change. Let's hope so. Let's hope so. I can see Andy Travis, I think, is trying to come in on the chat here. Could probably share a couple of stories. Yes, sir. If you want to come on in, let me just send you a link invite.
Bring Andy up. Let me jump because I've got to go meet a guy. I'm actually you're gonna laugh when I say this, but most of the time over on this side of the pond, cabinets are a thing of the past.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a collection of them, and somebody has asked for a Trace 215 that I have.
Okay.
So he's gonna.
That's a hefty old block.
Oh, tell me, I had a pair of them, and I did up with the other one. Oh, I've got bigger, trust me, but this guy wants this thing, and he's gonna swap me off a bass. So I might have a little toy to play with later. But I've got to. Okay. But like I said earlier, I didn't want to be scuttling about it in my lemming in my shiny metal box. Not chime in and jump in for all you guys and gals. So,
yeah, no worries, man. Thank you for coming in.
Yeah, I'll try to get back if I can, mate.
Okay, if not, I will catch up with you in the week, no doubt.
Sounds like a plan.
Love your bones.
Love you, man. Cheers.
Take it easy. See you soon. Bye-bye. Andy Travis, welcome. Good to see you.
Hi, are you okay?
I'm all these bass players that I've read about for years, and now all of a sudden they're on my live chat. Thank you very much for joining in. Good to see you.
Yeah.
What's your recollection of the man?
I think the first time myself and Nick had anything to do with each other, I was selling a load of gear because I've just had a baby who's now heading towards 16, so that gives a rough idea on timescale. And the first kind of proper face-to-face interaction, he drove up from Peterborough. I met him at Piccadilly train station. He pulled into the taxi rank, which obviously you're not supposed to do, and all these taxi drivers getting irate as I threw a fender at him in the rain. We then kept in touch because I was always badgering, can I have my bass back? And he's like, no, I'm using it. And then I didn't want it back. And as we do, we're forever trading gear back and forth. I got into a big, I want to be a 80s bass player kind of phase. I wanted to be John Taylor for a bit. And
We've all been there.
Yeah. And I've got this aria, Andy. I've got this aria. You'll love it. You'll love it. It needs a bit of work because obviously the pickups in them are prone to failure and they're all melted into epoxy resin and you can't fix them. So I bought this better. I think it was something ridiculous. He said, oh, it's 400 quid. Have it for 400 quid. And at the time they were like 1,100 quid if you could find one that worked. But he came down and he brought the Enfield, the blue Enfield, which was like the sort of first iteration of his sort of signature stuff with them or models that he did with them. And he said, you've got to try this. And I'm like, okay. And I'd obviously seen the videos and I knew all about him. And he gives it the check this out. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's fine. And he says, give it a go. And I just thought, oh, there's nothing worse, because at the end of the day, we can all sit in the room and noodle, and we do our band practices, and we can play our stuff, and we all do we can play Mr. Pink intro riff and stuff. But I did this really, really poxy. I'm going to check out how it really works. And I got the bass and I had it plugged in, and I went ding, ding, ding. Oh, yeah, you can hear the difference there. Ding, ding, ding. You can hear the difference. There was no way on God's green earth that I was going to play anything approaching what Nick had done. So we had a laugh, we had a brew, off he went. And again, the cycle of gear and stuff. And he was going to have the area back. He didn't have the area back. And then he was talking about he was doing the green Enfield.
Yeah.
Was I interested in the blue Enfield? And I was like, at the time, we just had another baby, didn't have the money. And I said, I'd love it, but I can't. And the next time I saw him then was actually, we talked about all the guitar shows and trade shows. And I used to work in the trade. I'm a teacher now, but I used to work in the trade 10, 15 years ago. So I'd done all the shows. But I went with Paul Walsh, who does the Vintage Bass Room up in Hexham. I went down to Birmingham with him. I'm going again at the end of the month, start of next month. And I was planning to meet Nick there because he turned up at that one. And I was talking to a guy about a bass, and you never lose that sales pattern. And we met loads of great people there, down at the shows. And I could see this face mooching towards me, and he had this, honestly, the grin on him. And it's funny, really, because I always remember Nick in my head as 6'8" and like an absolute monster. And he comes towards me, and I thought, he's bloody shrunk. But then in my head, he's such a larger than life character that you always remember him as like 20 feet tall and slapping the crap out of a bass. And he, hands on shoulders, hello, mate. And he did his big face. And I just thought, oh, God, it's just so nice to see him. And then we talked about stuff and talked about Genesis Connected, because that was a relatively recent thing at the time. He was absolutely smashing that. And I said, my dad's a massive Genesis fan. We'll have to come down and see you. And he was like, yeah, I'll let you know if we're playing Manchester. And then we talked about these e-basses for a while. I think one had come up for sale. I said, these were something to do with you. And he said, oh, yeah, they're fantastic. And there was one, and it was green. And I can never trace it. It was sold on Bass Chat 7 years ago. And I wanted it back, and it wasn't the right time. And I said, oh, I'll keep an eye out, because my reputation precedes me as someone who has owned more basses than
Go through a few.
Has actually played bass, probably. But what I lack in talent, I make up for with the purchasability.
That's all right.
And
we've all been there.
I think I'd had a rehearsal. We'd had a few beers after the rehearsal. Woke up one Saturday morning, give the eyes a rub, did the typical log into eBay, bass guitar, and the first thing that came up was just listed bass guitar, green, parts not working. And I thought, wow, that's it. And I just pressed buy it now. It was on for 85 quid.
They were selling them for 1,000 quid plus when I was doing that in 2000.
So I jumped in the car, probably could have been wiser. I think I actually left it a little bit to the afternoon, up some winding hill in Stockport, and pulled up to this wonderful house. And a guy just comes out and goes, hello, mate, you okay? And apparently he bought it while in and around Peterborough from somebody as a bass to learn. And it actually came with a stand, like a really crappy cable, a how to play bass book, which I gave to a friend who's a teacher, so he could pass it on to a kid or something. And it was that kind of barn find kind of sheet of dust over it. Every single pot notched its way, and the jack socket was a barrel jack, and you put the jack in, you had to kind of pull it to make it work. But you could see what he tried to achieve with it, and obviously it was a fantastically put together instrument, and it was this metallic green. And I remember him saying it was actually paint that was used to paint the Jaguar F1 team trucks and cars. So I don't know where they got that from, off the back of a lorry probably, but
ways and means.
It looked perfect, and I cleaned it all up, and I'd sent him a photograph saying, "Is this yours?" It was actually a half-open gig bag in my boot on the side of a road in Stockport. And he said, "Oh my God, that's the one, that's the one." I said, "It's in a bit of a sorry state, mate." I said, "I'll do my best." I got everything working on it. It played great. Just it had LEDs down the side of the neck, and one of the LEDs had blacked out. And I had, for the life of me, I was like, "That's a fingerboard off job. That's beyond my, Ernie Ball polishing cloth." It was further than I could take it, but I got it working. I actually, knocking about on one of the posts that I'd shared on Facebook, I actually recorded it for him, and that's another example
demo,
of another example of, "How does it sound, mate?" I'm like, "You actually want me to play it for you?" Oh my God. So I did the most Nick Smithy type stuff I could muster. Just not quite as thunderous, but nearly. And it was great because he was always really humble, but he always had that kind of, "I know what I'm doing." And he said, "That's something to do with me designing it. That's why it sounds so good." I was like, "Fair play." And he said, "It sounds great." And that, to me, him saying "sounds great" was like a bit of validation from someone who'd obviously done so much. And I don't know, we did that thing we do. "Look at this new bit of gear I've got," and he was always full of information. And I was talking to somebody the other day about these videos where he's like, "Hello, it's me," and it was just like, just every time it creased me up. And funnily enough, just because of the mood of yesterday, I was doing that with my youngest, Iris, and she thought it was the funniest thing in the world that Dad was doing a mouth movement to a voice that shouldn't have come from there. She thought it was the funniest thing ever. And
you've got to keep that going.
yeah, and that's it. I actually debated very, very briefly, thinking I'll do a little video, but then I thought, no, it's probably a bit too soon, and to do a parody video of him. But I know he'd laugh his head off if people were starting to parody his parody of other stuff. That's his influence. But
Oh yeah.
I don't know. It was one of those characters. I didn't see him a lot because we live so far apart. But when I bumped into him or was throwing a bass at him, and there was always the odd message, "Hello, mate, how's things?" And
Yeah.
obviously through bass chat, we did that thing where I was selling bass gear to afford adaptations to the house, and there was messages of support there. He was just a lovely bloke, and it's nice to see how much of a reaction there has been, because how I feel about him is quite evidently how everybody who's interacted with him feels. And when all the messages started coming through, it's like, I bet he's done that thing where, and I actually said jokingly to a mate, I said, "He'll be all right. He'll be off sniffing an alembic," and
Well, I suddenly thought it was late at night that he left his unit, and I thought, I bet he's just gone off to. Yeah, exactly. Like someone's gone, "I've got a JD, but I need it sold like tonight," and it's like 10:30. Can you? And I thought, I bet that's probably what's happened. His phone's run out of juice. Gone to sleep. Hasn't turned his phone on.
Yeah, or he's halfway to Aberdeen to buy a rare,
exactly,
kind of half fretless, half fretted something or other. And
some beast.
Yeah, and like I say, it was he put a thing up and he was like, I'm going to sell some gear," which wasn't so long ago. He said, "I'm going to sell some gear soon." I was like, "Oh, what's in the bank account?"
See, I hadn't seen that message, but then when I was going back through his, I think through his Facebook feed, suddenly I saw this message and I thought, well, how did I not see that? But you can't see everything, and if the algorithm doesn't throw it up in your face, then you're not going to see it. Was there a reason why he was going to sort of shift a load of gear? What was the?
Yeah, I think, to be fair, I think because Genesis Connected was so busy, they'd only just put up a massive post of how many dates they were doing. I suspect, he probably did that thing we all do. He's like, "All this gear, what am I doing with it?" I don't think there was a sinister reason behind it. I don't think it was a financial reason. I think it was, there's so much gear there. Was he having the time to enjoy it? And obviously he'd been playing the Granger stuff, and he had his other bases really getting back into the JD stuff. So I presume he'd probably I've come full circle. Like me, I look at a list of bases I've owned, and it's like, I'm now, I think, on my 4th or 5th Epiphone Jack Cassidy. I've got 2 at the minute.
Yeah.
I had a big thing for Dan Electro DC bases like ages ago, and I've ended up with another 2, because it's just that thing, oh, do you know what would really work on this track? You know what would work on this song? And you just end up coming full circle all the time. It's like when I did list that ripper on bass chat, I was like, but now I've got to find another one when things are all sorted, and they're a pain in the backside to find. So, you know, just look at how much I get for one of my kidneys. Probably not enough, but that's the joke. Again, another things that just pop in your head is Nick would always say, "I'll take 2 kidneys." You know what I mean? And
That's right.
just all the daft things you say, and we've all said it to each other.
Yeah. I think he offered me both kidneys and his liver for the Mark King Stingray, but I went no.
Yeah,
No, I can't use those.
yeah.
They're no use to me. But wowzers. Yeah, he's going to be very missed. Take a sip of your drink. I'll see if I can get one of these videos to play. Let's see if we can get the fella up.
Hello. Yes. It's very late or early, depending which way you look at it. Hello, everybody. It's only me down the studio with, wow, what can I say? This and another lovely, lovely instrument. I've just given this a full valet and setup. All I've got to do is it's got the original strings on it, put some new strings on it and set it all up. I mean, put the new strings on it, it's already set up, but then set it up with a new string. 1978 P bass, look at that, what a lovely. It's a lovely bass, it belongs to a very good friend of mine. Hello, mate. And it's a real nice guitar, it's a real nice player. That's a kind of a soft sound, bring the treble in, and you got a really nice. With the old pick, we've got the old good Fender sound. I'd like to get I'd love an old one like this. I had a 77 Jazz many years ago, which was okay, but this is good. Oh. Anyway, it's nearly, oh my goodness me, it's 20 to 2, so it's time to go and get some sleep. All the best and see you soon, many thanks. Hello everybody, only me in the studio on Tuesday, the 5th, I think it is today, the 5th of July. Good to see you all. Well, I can't actually see you because it's a video, but you know what I mean. Here we are in the studio with my lovely JD Rhodey, Rhodey 1 fretless bass. It's a beautiful fretless. I had it refinished. It was a tobacco sunburst colour originally. I had it refinished pearl blue by T-Dog Custom Finishes, which is Toby Diggins, which is John Diggins, one of John's grandsons, and he's done a fantastic job. The whole thing is pearl blue. You can see there, he's done a beautiful job. And it actually does change in the daylight. It changes colour. It doesn't actually do it under these fluorescent lights, but it's a fantastic guitar. Used to belong to a friend of ours called Colin Payne, who sadly died some years ago, and before he passed away sadly, I did a deal with him on a status bass, and I got this JD bass. It was active actually, because another owner who had it, I won't say his name, put an EMG pickup on it, and he had an active circuit, but it has now got a three-way switch, which is like a kind of a tone changer. Yeah, so it sort of changes the actual. I think it's a. It's got a treble as well. Tone. So I can get more of a. Great fretless. And then this sound. So yeah, and this is actually for Jaymi Millard. He's been pestering me for a video of this bass for about 73 years. So Jaymi, this is for you, mate. And everybody out there in Facebook bass world. So we there we are. I've got my Genesis Connected t-shirt on. You can see me there. Look, there's me. Look at that. Probably best to keep that covered up. Me, not the band. So yeah, all the very best to you all out there, and keep safe and keep it bass. Many thanks.
Looking back over my shoulder, climbing up on South Street, I can see the city light. There's always been that hope. Well, you can wake up, you gotta tidy your room now. I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh, because now this is the world we live in, and these are the hands we give. You can't hurry love, no, you just have to wait. She said love don't come easy. I wanna be sledgehammer every generation. Blames the one before. You coming back to me is against all odds, and that's just what I've gotta face. Just turn it on, just turn it on again. Turn it on, just turn it on again. Just turn it up, just turn it on again.
Hi everybody, Nick here from Genesis Connected, bass player and Taurus pedal player, of course. It's lovely to be here with you all to talk about one of my all-time favourite albums, which is the Yes album, Big Generator. Now, bands like Yes and Genesis were obviously the forefront of the progressive rock movement in the early to mid-70s, and obviously once that decade came to a close, punk and new wave had come in. So these bands were kind of like, who were major stars back in the early days, were suddenly seen as, that's yesterday, yesterday's news kind of thing. So what happened with both bands, they went very pop, and I think that would have been down mainly to obviously the change in tastes of the public at the time, and the record companies were saying, look, come on guys, this is the 1980s, we've got to change gear a little bit and produce some albums that are going to sell to the wider public at large. So both bands became very pop. Yes produced an album in 1983 called 90125, which spawned the hit single Owner of a Lonely Heart, which gave Yes its biggest ever hit, which went to #1 in America, that song. And the album did very, very, very well around the world, went multi-platinum in many countries. And so the follow-up album was Big Generator, which was released in 1987, October 87 I think it was. Which was a follow-up to 90125. It didn't sell quite as well as 90125, but it still sold a lot. Big in America again. Some hits off of the album in America. I think Rhythm of Love was a big hit for them over there, the opening track. So yeah, this album, what a great album. My favourite bass player in this idiom of the rock field is Chris Squire, the late great Chris Squire, bless him. His playing on this album is immaculate. It's fantastic. Some great riffs. This particular song, On Running, is a very good showcase of his work. Fantastic little riff that he's played in unison with the lead guitar. In fact, he's got two bass parts on there. He's overdubbed it an octave lower because he was using a Tobias 5-string bass at the time, which he got tuned down to a low A note, which is very low. So he's got a lot of depth there on the riff when you listen to it. Standout tracks for me are the first track, Rhythm of Love. Track number 3, Shoot High, Aim Low. Track 6, Finalise. And this track number 7, On Running. They're my favourite standout tracks. Some other tracks on the album which are good, but not my favourite tracks. But anyway, it's a great album to drive to. And the nice thing about stuff like this is that you listen to it and you listen to it again and you think, oh, I didn't hear that bit before. There's lots of little harmonies and little musical parts that pop out, as it were, upon repeated listening. So it's a great album to really get into. So yeah, I just wanted to do a little bit of a tribute to it, and check it out on whatever platform you can. I think it's still available on vinyl actually. This was bought back in the day. This was actually bought in 87 when I was 16. I'm 50 this year. But anyway, lovely to speak to you, and we'll see you again soon, and can't wait to get back out on the road with the band. Miss the guys terribly, and miss playing and miss seeing everybody, but obviously a lockdown, we've got to go through this thing to get through to the other side and be safe. Your health is your wealth. Anyway, bye bye from sunny Peterborough. It's a nice day. I'm going to do some gardening a bit later. See you soon. Bless you all. Hi everybody, it's Music Monday. It's Nick here from Genesis Connected, and today's choice from me is an album called Influences by my bass guitar hero Mark King from Level 42. Fantastic album. He did this in 1984. It was like a solo project, and it enabled him to buy his first house, the advance from the record company. Anyway, it's a great album. My favourite track is the first track, which is actually 18 minutes long. It's called The Essential, which is like a suite of instrumental pieces. Mark plays bass guitar, normal guitar, keyboards, drums and vocals on it. It's a fantastic piece. Next track is called Clocks Go Forward. Then we have a cover of I Feel Free by Cream. Mark was a big fan of the band, and Jack Bruce, of course, the bass player. Then we have a track called Pictures on the Wall, and finally another instrumental track called There Is a Dog, which is like a Latin number. It's fantastic. Really good. Yeah, check it out if you can. It's a very quick one from me today, but wishing you all the very best, and we see you very soon, and take care. All the best now. Bye.
Hi mate, hope you're alright everybody. Here we are at the studio, it's Tuesday, that's right, the VGA bass has been refurbished. It looks as good as new. Very quick clip for JJ. Oh. Can't play today. See you later, many thanks. Yes, it's me, in the studio.
Hi everybody, it's me again in the studio. Another quick video clip of the bass guitar collection. Here's the Ibanez MC94 musician model. It's a 3-band EQ. Lovely, lovely bass from 1982 again. Very good year. That was the year I started playing bass guitar. This is for Steve Edwards. Hi Steve. So here's the back pickup. Oh, volume might be good. Very clear sound. Both together, both pickups. And then the front pickup, a bit like a P bass. So there you go, very nice, very versatile bass guitar from the early 80s, the golden age. Many thanks.
He's not wrong. The 80s was the golden age of bass playing. Barry Morehouse from the Bass Centre confirmed it. Here we go, Mr. Smith doing his thing. There've been a whole load of messages, so I thought we'd just quickly catch up with those. I can still see you there, Mick. You join in whenever you wish. That's all good. Mark Palmer, great story, Andy. That's the Nick Smith I remember. Paul Walsh lives 20 minutes from me. Great guy. Bought some pieces from him. Very good. Dan Veal is back. Dan, welcome back, you lovely chap. Stacey's saying welcome back. So that's all good. Andy Travis, you've just come off. Thanks for letting me off. Waffle, mate, it wasn't waffle. It was fabulous. Thank you. If you want to come back and join in, feel free. Otherwise, I will catch you on Bass Chat at some point soon, I guess. But thank you very much for finally crossing my path. And you, Mick. That's it's been great. Danville, I'm just catching up. RE the bass shows. Don't we miss them? Didn't we love them? Yeah, we did. And we knew at the time. I remember saying to Joel, all the shows we used to do, and we used to stand there on the Saturday night when everything's going on in the various pubs that we were at and the bands were playing. And we said, just soak this up, because this won't carry on forever. We knew at the time, you know, each one, we got another one. It was a big deal. It's a shame. I remember, I think I've recounted this on Bass Chat before. Sorry, we're slightly off topic from Nick here, but there's all these paths. Bass is like a big family tree, and its tentacles go out far and wide. But in 2017, so we just had the 2017 bass show. We were aiming for 2018. Future were now in charge. Future took over in May, June 2016. And we were trying to line up what we were going to do for 2018. So at the time, anyone that remembers what I used to do at the mag, I was interviewing the names. So Billy Sheehan, Mark King, Doug Wimbish, Nathan East, Larry Graham, Marcus Miller. I didn't do Victor Wooten, but we had access to him. Stanley Clark, Bakiti Kamalu, all those people. If you've watched any of the stuff here on the channel, you know I did loads of name interviews at the time. So we had access to the people. Dawson, good to see you there. Lise, if you want to come on by video at all or audio, feel free. It's all good. Alan Four Strings, welcome. Good to see you. Again, we've never spoken, only on Facebook. But yeah, very sad with Nick. Gary Dungar, I hope Nick's Facebook page stays such a great legacy to leave for all to remember him by. Quite. I echo that. Even if it gets locked down so people can't add comments, if the videos and the content's still there, that'd be fab. So yeah, we were interviewing I was doing a lot of the interviews. So we had access to the names, and we had tried to get, well, in our view, every show had to be a killer show. So I remember coming away from 2013, driving back with Joel through town, and we were going, well, who are we getting for 2014 then? I said, well, we've got to get John Taylor, because that'll get bums on seats. Could we get Mike Dirnt from Green Day? I said, that'll appeal to a different market. So we got to get Mark King back. So it's 2011 last time he was on. 2014, 3 years. Yeah, come on. Maybe Jack Bruce, Stanley Clark, Larry Graham. I knew I was about to interview Larry Graham the following week. So it was like, we can get all these people. Come on, we can do this. And so in 2017, I thought we were going to pull the bells and whistles out. So 2016 had its issues because the show was great. And then obviously the magazine got sold from Blaze to Future. And then Future kind of realized not only had they bought the portfolio of magazines from Blaze, but they bought the live shows as well. But they kind of put a bit of a doorstop in the way of getting people booked. They didn't want to do all this stuff too quick. They had to look at the budgets. And what happened was, loved working for Blaze. Blaze were great. But unfortunately, they'd made the bass show really big, and they were paying big wages to the stars, paying for flights, paying for hotels, paying for this, paying for that. And the expenses going out of the show from the budget was huge. So in order to get the 2017 show, we really needed the stars booked by like September, October. We didn't book them till December. So some of the big names were already gone. And I remember going to interviews with Nathan East, Marcus, trying to think, Bagiti Kamalu, and saying to these people, would you like to do the bass show next year? Yeah, love to. When is it? And you'd say March. Might be away. And then by the time we get around to asking them, they were all booked. We could a lot of the times, the names we could have had we booked early, we would have got them. And so after the 2017 show, Joel and I were at Hammersmith, I think, to see Thunder. And on the journey there, I said, so what do you want to do for next year? How are we going to do this? He said, well, I hope we don't get a replication of what's happened with this year's show, where we couldn't get people booked until the last minute. I said, well, then we need to book in advance, don't we? But unfortunately, it's going to take the bosses at Future to sign that off. I said, what are your ideas? What do you want to do? He said, I've got an idea for doing a best of British. I said, that could work. That could work really good. And I'd just done an interview with Phil Spalding. Chris Childs was on board. Could have got Glenn Hughes. Mark King, obviously. Jack Bruce had passed away, so we wouldn't get him. Roger Glover, maybe. A few others. Could have been a really good show. Again, Kibosh got put on it. We didn't book people till November, December, by which time all the big names we wanted were booked. And then there was a year where we thought, preliminary discussions, we were going to have Stanley Clarke, Larry Graham, Marcus Miller, Nathan East. Straight off the bat, we thought we had them all lined up, ready to go. And again, couldn't get the cash checks signed. And all those guys ended up being busy on the bass show weekend. Couldn't get them. But there we go. So that's those stories. But, the show was a thing. It was definitely a thing. And the fact, like I say, I've said it numerous times now today, Nick was part of this. We had a community there, and you'd see the same faces year after year in terms of those of us who, aren't in the upper echelons of the bass playing world. That was our meeting place. We knew every year for 2 or 3 days we'd see all our mates, and that ain't there now, unfortunately. And it's a shame. And for a certain slab of us who are of a particular vintage, shall we say sort of mid-40s to late 50s, we grew up in a time when bass was prevalent. A lot of us have similar influences, similar musical influences, gear preferences. We like the same things. We don't have that opportunity to meet up. And I would love it. I said this on my Facebook and Instagram post yesterday. I would love it if the one thing of positiveness that comes out of Nick's passing is the fact we get back to something like that, even if it's just a mass get together. I don't know where we could hold it. I don't know how we would do it. But if we got something where it doesn't have to be a trade show, it could just be a social get together, and it doesn't have to just be bass players. It can be musos. It could be people that just got a lot of time and love for Nick. if he was the catalyst to make that happen, how wonderful that would be. How wonderful that would be. So if someone's watching this, whether it's tomorrow, next month, next year, 6 years, 10 years time, but we managed to do something where we could arrange something for musicians to get together and socially mingle instead of this. I could get on my soapbox here, but I don't want to because it's not the right time or place. I hate the hyper competitiveness in music. It drives me insane because there's no reason for it. And I said yesterday, you know, if people and musicians just helped each other up a level where possible. I see too much of this, what's the word, premier musician thing where people that are in positions of really good positions just look down on a whole another segment of, and it's like, you came from that same thing, so don't think you didn't. But I hate this sort of put down of people that are on the level below you, as though I can't possibly raise you up onto this level because you might take my job. Nonsense. And I hate, I said yesterday, I said, there are no prizes given out for being a pain in the arse. And I'll stand by that. And I've seen it with my own eyes on many occasions. And if we could just get back to a little more sense of musical community and sort of friendship and brotherhood rather than this constant, well, I've got all these gigs and you haven't. It's like, it is not a competition, guys. We're all trying to scratch a living. And yeah, I think I said my piece. But if that's what could come out of Nick's passing, is we can get people together and make it a slightly happier and more compassionate place to all involved, I think that would be a great thing. Stacey Ann saying hello to Dawson. Welcome, Dawson. It's slightly different this week, my man. I presume you're still out there. Not the regular live chat as we do it, but if you've got bass questions, we can take that on. But we're remembering a bass player who's passed here in the UK this week, Nick Smith, bass playing legend, all-round good guy, a fountain of knowledge, and he's passed away sadly. So watch some of the videos, maybe check some of what's gone before today, Dawson. Later when the live chat's finished, check out people talking about him, watching some of his videos and stuff. Sean P. Bass, not quite sure what to say. It's a huge loss, mate. That was me all day yesterday. Thursday, I wasn't in a great place. I was on 10. I was like a cat on a hot tin roof. I couldn't do a piece of work on Thursday. I had videos to edit and I just couldn't get my head around it because I was waiting for good news that didn't come. So you're in the same boat as a lot of people, Sean. It's none of us have really know what to say. I don't know the ins and outs. We'll know when the family and the police tell us, and that's all we have a right and privy to know. If people don't want everyone else to know, then that's fine. But, just remember the guy for what a great guy he was, what a great musician, great bass player. I was thinking while I was watching those videos, he had such facility on bass. But actually, I've got a clip, which I'll play shortly, which is him playing a 6-string guitar. He was no mean guitarist either. He knew his way around a 6-string. Don't worry about that. Mark Palmer, great idea, Mike. Count me in. Good man. Good man. Stacey, we share the same love for the art and there's no need for competition. Agreed. I understand. Look, it's a business. I understand how all this works. I've been in it for 30 years. I've been playing for 38. But I see those qualities in people who really should know better a little too often. And I see people who are very fortunate to be in the musical positions they're in. And I've physically seen it. I've seen them sneer and ignore people that are trying to have a conversation with them. And they're not out to get your job. And they're not out for getting one up on that person. They just want information because they don't know where to go for that information, and that person is in that position. You don't have to give all your trade secrets away, but you can help the younger ones along, because you ain't going to be in that position all your life. And I have been also in a position where names, I won't mention who they were, names in the bass playing world had no work and were scratching around for the merest bad paying pub gig just so they had money coming in, because they put all their lot in with a very large artist who then wasn't gigging, and they were in a situation with no work. So, you know, I don't want to get on my soapbox. It's not the right time. But if it, like I say, if it's the one good thing that could come out of Nick's passing, was there's a little more love and a little more togetherness in the bass community and in the musical community, then to my mind, that's a good thing. It's never a bad thing. Mark Palmer, the 25th anniversary of JD was a great bash. Oh, I wasn't at that. You know my JD story. I wasn't a huge JD player, a big appreciator of their work, but I've gone down other manufacturers' routes. It would be nice to combine JD and Nick Memorial at the same time. Now, there's an idea. There's an idea. There is an idea. Store that idea. I'll mention it when things pop up on social media that might be prevalent to something like that. Dawson, your question of the day: is coffee good for people? Yes. Yes. Don't fill it full of sugar, though, would be my advice to you, young man. Let's see where we are. Okay, I'm up to date on all the comments. Let's see if I can find that 6-string video. No, that's bass, 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 and bass.
Can I
Maybe
just say,
that
while
one
you're
did-
looking for that,
Hi,
carry on.
Tracy. Yes, of course.
And just to say, I'm going to pass on to the family the comments about keeping the Facebook page up, and
Sure.
also, I mean, I don't know if they thought about it, but I definitely think, I would love to have a memorial. So I guess I will pass that on too.
Okay. Another idea along those lines: what about some sort of scholarship for a young musician to go to a music college or something, or a bass thing?
Absolutely, lots of good ideas. I'm sure there'll be loads.
Yeah. But I mean, I have no interface with his sister or his family or anything, but by all means say to them, if they want to get in touch with anything, if they need any help. One of the things that's been preying on my mind yesterday, and I know there's a time and a place to say these things, but I'm also very aware that sometimes if something doesn't get said, suddenly time passes on and, oh, well, no one spoke up. I'm very aware that Nick's collection was significant, and I'm very aware that there's a lot of value tied up in that. If the family, his sister, his mum, or anyone needs help, there are many of us here in the bass community, that would help give them trustable valuations of what that gear's worth. And also, if they need help when it comes to time to move on some of that in order to liquidate it, myself and numerous others on this live chat and also out there in Bassland will happily help them. There's no cost to this. I just want to make sure that the family gets what that collection is valued at. I'm very wary of his alembic that was owned by John Entwistle. Is a serious investment piece, and there will be people that will pay a very large amount of money. I would suggest probably over £50,000 for that particular instrument. I don't want the family to get ripped off. So if they need any help or any sort of confirmation on values, you know, I wrote for Bass Guitar Magazine and Bass Player for 18 years. There are other suitably educated bass players on here. We're here to help. So if they need any of that help, I know how daunting it is, because my partner looks at my collection and goes, if you died, I don't know what to do with all this. So like when we were in COVID, I did a sheet for my partner that if I died, this is what I paid and this is what the current market valuation is. And every year now I update that for her, so that if I was in a car crash or something on the way back from a gig, she hasn't got to look at this lot and go, I don't even know where to start.
I know
So-
they would really appreciate that. So thank you very much. I will pass
Okay.
that on as well.
That's okay. And you know, they can contact me via social media, through YouTube, however they wish. They'll find my number on Nick's phone if they've got his phone. So, or I hope it's in his phone. But yeah, there's nothing attached to that. I just don't want the family to suddenly see what he ploughed a lot of his money and investment into suddenly dissipating and being ripped off. I can't have that. So,
Yeah.
but there'll be a lot of us that will be willing to help with that. So,
Thank you.
that's all right. That's all right. Videos, strats. That's what we were looking for. I can't. I was uploading these videos last night in bulk, and for some, is that it? It might be that. While I find it, let's have a look at these.
Here it is, the JD Rudy 2A Series 2 body from 1982. It's a little bit of a slap clip. This has actually got a very thin, it's almost like a jazz bass neck. It's a tiny little neck on it, so it's quite, and the front pickup's a little bit closer to the neck than, excuse me. That's back pickup. It's a little bit of a, try that. Hi everybody, it's only me again, just another little quick video. This is a very rare instrument. This is the JD Jaco Pastorius model. There's only possibly 3 or 4 of these in existence on this planet, so it's a lovely rare bass, and it sounds absolutely gorgeous. Look. Very reminiscent of my blue Roadie 1. So yeah, fantastic bass, very, very lucky to have it. All the best to everybody, love you all, bye.
I have found that Strat bit, and now I've lost. Oh, there it is. I'll start it now, shall I?
Hello everybody, it's only me. It's about 1 o'clock in the morning. Still down in the studio. I'll just give this beautiful, what a flipping lovely guitar this is. This is one of the nicest guitars I've ever seen. It's a Shure. Belongs to my good friend Brian Lane from Chicago. He's over here on holiday at the moment, and he brought this with him, and he wanted it. He just wanted a bit of a setup and stuff, and it's beautiful. Hendrix for days. beautiful, well, it's Fiesta Red, more of a salmon pink, a little bit lighter than Fiesta Red, but that finish is like glass, that is. It's come up really, really, really nicely, very, very. Very pleased, so I shall be seeing Brian tomorrow. And hopefully he'll be very happy with this, but I'm very happy with it. Because he wants to buy it, wants to sell it. Can't afford it, no more. Anyway, thanks everybody, good night, and many thanks.
Good evening, everybody. This is Nick Smith here in his new studio. I'm very proud to be here. It's a lovely part of the world. And here we have my Rickenbacker 4001 Chris Squire limited edition bass guitar. Bought this bass back in 1995, which is, so next year it'll be 20 years of age. It's a fantastic bass. It's a wonderful instrument. Chris is one of my heroes, so Chris, if you're out there watching, I bought this because of you, me old mate, and it was in tune when I bought it. It's actually getting a bit chilly here in the studio, but as you can see, it's so what we got here, we've got currently the back picker pin. This is now both together. And the front one. a lot of people don't realise is that a lot of the way that Chris gets his sound is by the fact that he uses a pick. He also strikes the string with his thumb, which is just in front of the pick. So he gets a kind of a twang. That's on the front pickup, so both together. Or top and then on the back pickup. So again, I mean, it does sound good fingerstyle. Of course, having the you can see it there, the horseshoe pickup means that you can't really take that off. That's part of the base. It's integral housing for the pickup. So on a lot of later ricks from the 70s, you can take that off, but on this one you can't. It's part of the pickup. So I think that's probably where, if I sit there like that, you can see where Chris develops. You can see where Chris developed his style from picking, because he used to rest his hand, well, he still does, rest his hand or if he's playing something like roundabout. Great bass on. Wish I'd written that. So that's the sounds. The sounds of the Rickenbacker. Thank you, Chris Squire. Thank you. Good night, everybody, and see you on Facebook.
Here we are. He's no slouch. Put it that way, he's no slouch. Right, compose yourself, Michael John. Right, messages have come in. Andy Travis, happy to support with gear values. If Tracy passes all that information on, I'm sure we'll all hear if they need our help. Lisa Devlin, scholarship is a wonderful idea. Or given how prevalent his love of instruments was, maybe a foundation to help young bassists who can't afford their own gear. Likewise, similarly, very good. Mick, the lovely Mick, sent me a private message. It says, you know that Martin from Sims commented on Facebook, how about a Nick Smith model? Now, there's a thing. I think it's a great idea as well. Sean, sorry I was a bit late, just collected yet another bass. We've all been there, Sean. Don't worry about that. It never stops. It's an affliction that never leaves. Okay. I mean, I can do a very Nick thing here, and he'll love this. I know he'll be up there going, go on, my son, go on. So sometimes I do this, but it's a pain in the backside because of the camera and the tripod and all that. I'll give you a very brief look. His affliction is my affliction, okay? So just to give you an idea of what we have to contend with, I've got all this lot to deal with. So he had his all hanging up on walls. I've got them all here. And there's more. So, Tracy, if you thought it was just him, it isn't. It's me as well. And my mate, Gary Banton, who Nick knew as well. And Gary was very concerned with Nick's welfare as well. Nick was the leader in terms of having a huge collection. Gary probably followed on. Gary's got about 80 basses. And then I'm sort of trailing around somewhere near the back end, which wouldn't be the first. But there's 40 here. They're not always here. Sometimes they're off in secure locations and what have you, but they're here for videos and stuff that I'm doing here on the channel. So, yeah, it wasn't just Nick that did this. There's quite a few of us. My excuse, not that I ever really needed one, is that a lot of these have sort of been picked up along the way over the years, and you end up finding yourselves in projects where you need to have something specific, and invariably it's the thing you haven't got. So when I was in a Green Day tribute, I had to go and buy the Green Day bass that the guy used. There's a video here on the channel where I talk about my collection as it was 2 years ago. And I explained the story that I went to a studio to record a track for someone. They wanted a jazz bass. I had a Trace Elliott T bass, which is there in the rack. Fine instrument, super jazz. Did the session. Guy loved it. Said, "Oh, mate, the tone's amazing." Got to the end. I thought, right, well, I'll start packing up then. He went, "But it hasn't got Fender on the headstock." I said, "Well, what's that got to do with it? I've done the track. You're quite happy with it. You say you like the tone. It's not a problem." He said, "Yeah, but it hasn't got Fender on the headstock." I said, "No, it's got Trace Elliott T bass status on it." "Yeah, but it hasn't got Fender." I said, "What has that got to do with it?" I said, "No one's seeing it. We're in a recording studio." "Yeah, but it hasn't got Fender on it." And we just went round and round and round and round. Anyway, I ended up going and buying a Marcus Miller Fender Jazz. You acquire these things over time. So you may have seen in the rack there's a Warwick Bootsy Collins space bass. Now, in any sensible frame of mind, I wouldn't have gone anywhere near that bass because you ain't going to sell it. Unfortunately, I play in a disco show band, and that totally hits the nail on the head. The fact the thing doesn't balance and it flips and goes all over the shop is neither here nor there. But anyway, that's how you end up with these things. And doing it for a living, these become the tools of your trade. And okay, at some point, I'll be in a position where I have to liquidate this collection and think, well, my gigging days are over. Hopefully, I've got another 20 odd years yet to go. But also, since I developed the YouTube channel, having these basses has been a godsend, because when we were doing the magazine stuff, if stuff came in for review, you had stuff to compare to. So like a new Music Man Stingray would come in, I can compare it to an older one. Or a Dingwall came in, and it's like, well, this is the new version. It's like, well, I can compare it to the old version then, can't I? And things like that. So now on the channel, I use all of this stuff for videos. And something that might not be in vogue a year ago suddenly comes back into vogue, or a name player suddenly picks something up that's a bit more vintage, like 70s or an 80s bass, suddenly start using it. Suddenly the interest soars, and suddenly you can do a video and latch on to the sort of tail end of that, that shooting star, if you like. So that's my excuse. Dawson, Nick's got some chops. Yes, he has. A passion and a love for his craft. Absolutely. That comes out in the videos, but you could sit and talk to Nick about any of this, or you can sit and talk to him about the crossword and a new brand of coffee and a packet of crisps. He's quite, doesn't have to just be music. Mick, you've got, I'm into our private messages here. I have 20 plus. Just starting, Mick, just starting. You've often cited Nick as being a bad influence. Well, as I often say to the other half, they're investments. When you start cashing them in, you'd be quite happy for the money. I have to say, when we went in a lockdown and I did that sheet for my other half in case something dreadful happened, And I looked at the values and I thought, oh, that's not bad, actually. That's not bad. And we came out of lockdown, and around about 2022, I was doing updated valuations, and several things like alembics, kubickies, statuses, since they announced their semi-retirement, a few other bits and bobs, have suddenly gone boof in value, especially the alembics. I've over more than doubled what I paid for my alembics, because they've become collector's things where, when we were in lockdown, people were getting furlough payments from their work, facing the possibility that some of us wouldn't make it through. They wanted to own the things that they'd always dreamt of. They didn't want to die not having owned those things that they wanted. People were buying alembics and they couldn't find them. Second-hand market. People that buy alembics tend to keep hold of them if you know what you've got. And I'm very lucky that mine have more than doubled since I bought them 10 years ago. So happy days, happy days. So that's the other thing, you know, if you pick the right instruments and you pick well and you get good examples, they're an investment as well. I mean, I have no fear in taking any of my instruments out. I don't put them behind glass cases. Okay, there's a couple of things here that I thought, well, if that got bashed, I'd be really unhappy. But as far as I'm concerned, they're working instruments. So, you know, it's not like I take the alembics out down the pub. That's not going to happen. But if I know I've got a large stage, like if I'm doing Butlins, or if I'm doing a corporate event, or I'm doing a big festival, I'm quite happy taking the alembics out and giving them a good run for their money. So, yeah, it's never been an issue for me. Stacey Ann, is that salmon pink about the same colour as your coralish kubicki? Kind of. The guitar Nick was playing there is called Fiesta Red. Usual examples of it aren't very red. They're kind of like almost like an orangey red stroke coral pink sort of thing. Similar. But you got to remember that coral pink kubicki didn't start out that colour. A degree of oxidization has happened under the lacquer where it got that really bad ding in 96. There's a big crack on the edge, and that's changed the colour somewhat. But I'm loath to do anything else to that bass because I want to keep it as original as possible. I don't want to re-lacquer it if possible. Mark Palmer, one word for me that comes to mind regarding Nick's playing: panache. Yep, I'd go for that. Panache and finesse. I mean, going through his videos last night, there were plenty of foul ups, but it didn't matter. You know, he's just playing for the joy of playing, and here's a video of me doing it. I'm wondering if I might start doing a few things like that on YouTube Shorts, where there's no gloss, there's no production value in it, but it might be handy. The whole original premise of this YouTube channel was to create a library of demonstrations and reviews, because at the time when we set the channel up, there was no guarantee we were going to come out of COVID. We might never have gigged again. Some of us wouldn't have lived any further. And I didn't want people buying instruments without not being able to go to the store to try it, and buying blind. Loads of us do it, you know, buy stuff online, the bass turns up and it's a dog. You don't want that. So the idea originally was to create this repository, if you like, of demos and reviews and information. And over time, I've realised it needs to be more than that. That's not enough. But yeah. But yes, his playing detail is what I think. I think he got the slap technique so down playing Fenders. Like I said earlier, you know, when you give him a decent bass, suddenly it comes to life. It's not clunking away on a split coil precision. He's got everything down there. And there are videos actually where he plays really fast and then slows it right down. So you're hearing the bass rudiments of what he's doing. And actually, anyone that gets a grip of the slap technique will, I'm sure, openly admit, you know, there's actually nothing that complicated about it. The actual basic building blocks of it are relatively simple. It's a coordination thing. And then in order to get the speed, it's just doing that repetitiously. And doing it with a metronome or a looping pedal or a drum machine or whatever. in your own time, you can build those things up. The danger, as I said on last week's live chat, the danger with all this stuff is you build up these techniques and it's like, whoa, it's like flash, 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 flash. And here I am 30 years later. I've hardly done any slapping in a 30-year professional career. Bits and bobs here and there, but it's not a major part of my playing. I probably play, if I added up all the gigs and said that was 100%, I've probably slapped like 0.35% of my career has been slap playing. The rest of it has been fingers, picks, and any other sort of combination thereof. So you can end up going down these rabbit holes of technical playing. But then when you pull it out and think, actually, I'd probably have been better off playing some soul grooves or something, that would, and improving your timing and feel rather than machine gun triplets. But that's not to say there's no place for that. There is, because it gives you the technicality and it gives you another tool in your bass playing arsenal. Yes, Stacey, effortless, exactly that. Hugh, not seen that clip before. There's a couple of clips from that gig. Actually, you're in a few videos on his channel, young Hugh. Good to see. I only see you in black lycra with feathers sticking out your head. Yeah. But let it be said, Hugh, actually now, and with what's gone on this week, is a very good time for me to say this. So basically the world is watching, but that's by the by. Hugh, I think I'm right in saying that Simon said thank you for the work you did on the Decades Dance rehearsal that we did in September. I'm assuming he did that. We all told him to do that. You blew us away with your application and the amount of work you put in for that rehearsal. And I've said to the rest of the band, were it not for you putting in that work for that rehearsal we did in September and really nailing the whole thing, I'm not sure that show we did in October would have been as successful as it was. Your ability and your dedication to doing that was beyond the call of duty. So from me to you, I've never said it when we've been on a gig. I think I said thank you at the time. Mate, thank you very much for doing that. It was so amazing. I remember being in the rehearsal and going, Hugh's playing a blinder today. He's seriously good today. So from me to you, if Simon didn't say it and no one else in the band said it, I'm saying it. Mate, you were on fire that day. And I was so pleased. I was privileged to be on that rehearsal because you just absolutely floored me with your, it was perfection. It really was. And I remember saying to Theo, did you bloody record that rehearsal? He said, well, we got bits of it. I said, no. I said, that was the perfect practice recording for that show. For me. But anyway, so I've said it. So when I next see you, mine's a Coke, all right? Thank you very much. And yeah. Let's see, where are we? It's 17 minutes past 5 here in London town, here in the UK. This is Brooks's Bass Corner. You may be logging in thinking this isn't quite the usual bass live chat we have. No, it's not. It's live chat 97. We're remembering a friend of mine called Nick Smith. Sadly passed away this week. A bass legend here in the UK and further afield. Amazing player, lovely man, great musician, humorous to the nth degree. Great company. I'm trying to think. How much are you paying me? What else do you want me to say? Yeah. So today's live chat, we're remembering Nick. We can carry on for as long as people want to go on. We've done 3 hours or so. We were meant to go live at 2 o'clock. I pressed go live and I didn't press the confirm button. And I was rabbiting away for 15 minutes to myself. I did that last week as well. Brain's not in gear this year at the moment. So we can go on for a little longer if people would like to. We can take it through till 6 o'clock. If you've got any more recollections, stories, memories of Nick, let's hear them. You can post live in the live chat window here. Alternatively, if you want to come on live, you can email me. There's a ticker running along the bottom of the screen. brooksysbasscorner@gmail.com. Send me an email. I'll send you an invite. You come in live here on the chat and away we go. Mick the Greek is here with us. We've got Tracy as well. We've had a few other fine contributors today. And yeah, the man is missed. I need to feed and walk the dog. I understand. My condolences to Nick's family. Look forward to seeing many familiar faces in the future. Mick, it's been a pleasure at last to say hello and meet you. If you need me anytime, you know where I am. Hit me up on Bass Chat. If you find anything you want to talk about on the channel, feel free. I've been going for 4.5 years, so there's plenty of bass content here. Get your feet wet. Enjoy it. If there's something you'd like to see that I haven't done, send me a message and I can work on it, try and do something for you. Mate, have a good dog walk. I'm a dog guy as well. Look after yourself. I'm no doubt we will have some chats over the coming months, but you're welcome here on Brooksy's Bass Corner anytime. If you want to drop in on a live chat, feel free. Been good to see you. Well done, my man. Take it easy. See you soon. Right, where was I? I just realised I had Mick on. We've taken him off of the view. You were there. I could add you at any point. It was okay. Sean, great video as usual. Need to disappear, unfortunately. See you next time. Thank you, Sean. Thank you for your words. Hugh, I saw your message as well. That's all right. I wasn't sure if Simon had said. I'm sure he did, because he's pretty good at that sort of thing. But I remember saying after that rehearsal and the weeks after it, you make sure Hugh knows we appreciate what he did for that rehearsal. You're very good. So, Mr. Nick Smith, this is for you, my friend. So if you've got any memories, anything you'd like to contribute to the live chat, feel free. This is going to be sat here on my YouTube channel for as long as I'm still here. And if people are dropping in and watching this days, weeks, months, years later, just know this guy was really loved, really appreciated. Some of us in the back of our heads were thinking, why didn't we stay in touch more? Why didn't we stay in touch? It's called life, okay? And sometimes it's just not feasible to constantly saying hello to everyone. It gets, as a musician, it's hard. You're constantly plate spinning and trying to be successful being a musician, doing gigs, getting gigs, doing auditions, all the stuff you have to do in day-to-day life, keeping the house running, make sure your car's running fine, doing all your bills. Life, it just really gets in the way. So I'll put it out there. If anyone watches the live chat or watches this video after the event, you think, you're saying a lot, Mike, but you don't do it yourself. Believe me, I wish I had the time every day just to catch up on friends, but let it be known, anyone who I'm friends with, whether it's on social media or you know me in real life, if you've got a problem or you need to talk about something or something is pushing you and you're not happy, tell me. If I can come and help you, I will. I've got many friends who years can pass by, yet I know if I need them, they're here. And likewise, if they need me, I'm there. And some of those guys I probably haven't seen in 10 years or more, yet I know if I went to see them tomorrow, we just literally pick up from where we left off. So, you know, it's all well and good me saying, oh, we need to all see each other more. Life doesn't work that simply. So if people are watching this thinking, but you don't keep in touch with me, it's not through lack of trying. And sometimes the work life just totally walks over your day-to-day general life. It's the nature of this business. You try hard for it not to, but sometimes it's hard to work around it. So I apologize if any friends out there are thinking, well, you haven't been in touch with me for a long time. I apologize, but I'm always here. And if you want to get in touch, no problem. But to my bass brothers and sisters, if you hit a hard patch or you're just not having a good run of it and you just want to talk, even if it's I'm driving back from a gig and you want to natter, feel free. That's always an option. Funky Hobbit, taking my leave, Mike. No problem, Mark. Good to see you. Thank you for coming on. Thank you so much for putting this together. It's the least I could do, mate. It was the least I could do. If anything, it's been therapy for me, because the past 3 days I've been through the ringer, because I was thinking, well, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do to help? Nothing I could do. The police had to do what they were doing. I can't do their job. So today, really, I wanted to offer a platform to people who were feeling it and didn't know what to do, didn't know what to say. And it stews in your brain, and it's not nice. And if having this today meant people could come on and talk about Nick and listen to people's memories of him, and just, if they want to vent and have a good old cry, I have no problem with that whatsoever. Lord knows I've shed plenty of tears since Thursday. So, you know, as I've said twice already today, grief isn't a bad thing, and you should never be ashamed of it. And if you cry, let it out. You have no control over grief. It will come and hit you at the most inopportune times. Just do it. I had last night putting his videos together, I got a couple of times, I just like, but it didn't come out. And but grief is just love with nowhere to go, and that's no bad thing. So, you know, there are people, I'm sure, over the coming weeks and what have you, and when his funeral comes around, and we're all going to feel it for a long, long time. I mean, I haven't even mentioned his band, the guys in Genesis Connected. I know none of them personally. I did send a message to them by Messenger and their website on Thursday, because I was aware they had gigs coming up. I don't know any of them by name. I've never met any of them as far as I'm aware. But I've been in the position of being in a band and standing in for bands where their bass player died. It happened end of 2018. I had 2 dep gigs with the Oasis band that I depped for. And I was depping to cover their bass player because he was going to have a couple of days in hospital for them to get to the bottom of some medical problems he had. And the day before, 2 days before, the first of the 2 gigs I was doing that weekend, he was at hospital having tests done. And he had a heart attack and died, and they couldn't revive him. And I had the guitarist on the phone, and I'm thinking, well, he's going to cancel the gigs. He's not knowing what had happened. He said, what are you doing for the next 10 weeks? I said, what do you mean? I said, I thought you were ringing up to cancel the gig. He said, no. He's died at hospital. And we've got 10 weeks of shows, and we don't know what the hell we're going to do. Are you available? I said, well, run me the dates and I'll tell you. And there was basically only 1 gig I couldn't do. I was able to do the rest. And I got that band limped over the line by New Year's Eve, by which time they then had a quiet period. They were able to get a replacement bass player. So I've been in that position of getting bands through. It's not nice. It's not easy. But as I said on my message to the Genesis boys, I said, unfortunately, the show goes on in this business. Unless you're going to say, look, we're not going to work for a month or 2 and take stock and decide what we're going to do. So I contacted them and just said, here's my number, here's my email. If it gets you through, call me and I'll do the very, very best I can for you. I can't guarantee I'll be able to do everything, but if you need, and at this time I was assuming Nick was going to appear, but he wouldn't be in a frame of mind to play this weekend. And unfortunately, he won't be with us again, but it's hard. So if any of the Genesis Connected guys are watching this, or you watch it at a later date, guys, there are no words. You have my deepest heartfelt sympathies. Being in a band is a weird thing. It's like a a marriage, but it's not. And there's good parts to it, and there's really crap bits sometimes. But I was watching videos of social media stuff of you guys, and I don't know the inner workings of your band, but you seem like a really happy bunch. And if you can keep that, then do. And it's a great band. I mean, it sounds great anyway. I'm a big Genesis Phil Collins fan anyway. But being in a band, organising a band, gigging, being in each other's company all the time, it is not easy. It's hard. It's hard work. And sometimes it takes serious, what's the word, tolerance. You might have someone in the band that just really annoys the hell out of you, but you do it because people enjoy the show. They enjoy the gigs. They enjoy what you guys do. So, you know, take time if you need it. Replot, replan. And in 30 years of experience, it will work out for the best. Well, is that you, Trace?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. No, that's okay.
I keep popping out, but
that's all right.
obviously I'm in touch with the guys as well, so I will pass on. You said I'm going to video record everything, all the bits that I need to pass on to people and send that through to them. So just
no problem. No problem. I mean, they're a well thought of band. They're very busy. I've been seeing their messages on their page and stuff, and it's the worst thing, you know. But replacing people is the hardest thing because you have a chemistry, and when you take one chunk of that out, the chemistry isn't what it was. It's a different thing. But guys, you've got a very successful product there. It's whether you can emotionally put yourselves back into the fray. I think Nick would want you to do that. And I think any of us that work in bands, you know, you would never want the band to stop. And also, it's your livelihoods. But at the end of the day, you have to enjoy doing it. If you can't face playing because that guy's not there, that's a different thing. But there's plenty of us out here in the bass community that would, you know, willingly help you out and get you through as long as it takes. Trying to find the right band members in a band is bloody hard. I've been there, and you know, only so much of being in a band and being musical is what you can play and how you play it. A good 50% plus is about who you are and what you like to be around, and you know, working hard for the band and doing your best. So, as I say, I don't know any of you personally, as far as I'm aware, but the band has a very good reputation. And if you need to take some time off and just reassess, do it. But you'll come back and you'll do Nick proud, I'm sure. And like I say, all the videos I've seen, fabulous band. So, you know, don't deprive the public of what you have to offer. Oliver Bowen, it needed work. Not I needed work. I guess we're talking. I can't remember where your message was. It was probably quite a way back. Steve G, gonna have to take my leave, but I've really enjoyed watching the chats and videos of Nick. Love the scholarship idea too. Also keeping Nick's Facebook as a memorial legacy type thing. Cheers. Thank you, Steve. Pleasure. Dawson has sent a request. Let me see if I can send you that. That's the one we want. Hopefully that's still in there. It is. Dawson, I've sent you a request, sir. Let's see if I can get one of these videos to play while we wait for Dawson to appear. There's so many. Try and not repeat what I've already played. I think, no, we've done that. Let's try this one again. This is when he first got his studio.
Hello. Yes. It's me. Hello, everybody. Uncle Nicholas here in the studio. It's about 20 to 4 on Monday. I've been here since yesterday, and I didn't get in sleep till 5 a.m.
However, I'm a bit tired, but this is cool. I've got the carpet is down. You can probably see it behind me there. Look at that lovely carpet. Oh, it's great. It looks so much better than the crappy old green shit. There's some acoustic mats. There's my little Reiki thing. And let's go around the back here. There's the door. There's my bald head. And then we've got the lovely sun coming through the window there. Some little guitars and things on the walls. My favourite bass there. Let's put the lights on. Let's just put the lights on. There she is. I love it. I love it. So, there we are. Keep tuning in, EADG. And if you're using a 5-string, be EADG. Many thanks. And we'll...
Yes. It's Monday. Evening. Good evening, everybody. Can you believe it? I'm down the studio. Yes. Oh, my goodness. What a surprise. It's Monday night and, oh, blimey. Just cranked my headstock there. I've got my Fender Jaco Pastorius signature jazz bass guitar, fretless bass guitar. It's a lovely bass guitar. I'm just going to have a bit of a noodle and thinking about people like Mo Foster and John Giblin, Mick Kahn. Jaco, of course. So, thinking of all those lovely players out there we've lost, and yeah, I must play a bit more fretless. I need to get a bit more up to speed with it, but it's a lovely sound, and with this basically sitting the light's got a lacquered fingerboard, so it really does sing. Anyway, all the best to you. Have a great week this week, and I'll see you soon. Many thanks.
There we are. Knows his stuff. Knows his stuff. A few messages popped in. John Channing's been a great tribute to Nick, but I have to go. Things to do. All the best. Thank you, John. Stacey enjoying the Mick Calm vibe, of course. And we've got Dawson. Dawson, I'm bringing you live, my friend. Let's get you on here. There we are. Hey, my man. How are we doing?
Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3.
You're there. Yes, you are. How are you?
Pretty good. How about you?
I had better weeks. I just couldn't believe it. Just everything was ticking along on Wednesday, and then I get the news that things are up, and it's been fairly rotten, to be brutally honest. Yesterday was not a day I care to remember particularly well, you know, dealing with friends and colleagues in tears, basically. And that's the whole reason of this live chat was we've got people in the bass community, not just here in the UK, but around the world who knew Nick. Just can't make any sense of it. And, you know, you're not going to speak to the guy again. You're not going to get to see him again. You're not going to sell him a bass again. It's just a shame. It's a shame. And I've had enough death in my life for the past 6 years. I've lost 2 dogs and 2 in-laws, and it's time. So if the Grim Reaper's sort of floating around West London, do one, please. I've had enough. It's I wasn't expecting this. I hoped 2025 would be a happier year than the past 2 I've had, and this was not what. I don't want to speculate. I'm guessing it was an accident, but still, you know, the guy's in his prime, years to go yet, and it hits home. You know, he was only 18 months older than me, and I've known him, or had known him, 28 years. There are certain pillars in your life, people that you know, and they remain constants until one of you pops off. And unfortunately, I've lost one of those pillars. So, you know, it is what it is. But as a young player, Dawson, listen to your Uncle Mike, right? You need to go and watch Nick's Facebook and watch his videos and find footage of him online and YouTube. He's a learning resource. You will learn much. A lot of your bass heroes were his heroes. So he's a huge Geddy Lee fan. Roger Glover, Chris Squire, lots of rock. He's not just a Mark King-aholic. Okay, so, you know, well into his Rickenbackers, precisions, jazzes. And as we've discussed earlier in this live chat, he was an encyclopedic knowledge, not just on bass, guitars, musical gear, bands, players. He grew up in the same period as me, where you read the liner notes on an album. You knew who the engineers and producers were on the classic albums. You knew who the percussionist was on the B-side of a big hit. You know, it's all that. So, you know, as an up-and-coming bass player, you aren't going to get anything new than what he's already put out there, but he's left a legacy of information. So people like him are worth learning from. Unfortunately, we didn't get it all down in a book, which would have been advisable, but that's what happens. So how was your week?
Not bad. Yeah, so I was watching some of the videos earlier, and I think Stacy summed it up well. She said, effortless, you know, you just, without even breaking a sweat, just got all the notes in and a couple more. So
that's it. He was a monster.
I got on my.
I mean, I never got to see him play on a gig because we were always gigging at the same time. But yeah, you've got.
I have
We
seen
Can't
a
Dance.
Genesis tribute band called the Musical Box.
Yes,
They've been playing for over 25 years, I think. Great band.
Friend of mine used to be the drummer in that.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of Genesis tributes around, especially now that they've retired. But yeah, we'll enjoy. But yes, it's not the greatest week, I have to say, not the greatest week at all. But anyway, here we are. So this is celebrating Nick's life, and like I said, I just wanted to give some of the people who knew him, who felt a bit lost the past couple of days. You just get like this, like you're just hanging loose. It's like there's no surety about anything, and you just, Thursday was horrible because we all wanted a positive outcome. We all wanted to hear positive news. And we just thought, well, maybe he has just done this, or maybe he's just done that, and maybe his phone's knackered. Maybe he's a resourceful guy. He's a bass player. Okay, we're resourceful people generally. Something goes wrong, you're going to fix it. You're going to find a way to solve the issue. And the longer no one heard from him, it was the fact, for me, it was the fact his car, no one could find his car. And it's like, well, car doesn't just disappear. And we have number plate recognition systems here. So as the police pump a number into the system, it'll pick up all the locations that car was seen. After he left his business unit, that was it. It was like, well, he hasn't just been picked up by a UFO, or maybe he had. But we were all kind of like, Christ, you know. And a lot of people in the local area were driving around trying to see if they could find him or find the car and what have you. But anyway, here we are. Let's talk about the man. There we are. So what's happening in your bass playing world, sir?
Well, I do have some Genesis CDs here.
There you go.
I guess as far as bass goes, is that I've been looking at the playing of John Paul Jones, and I find that like some bass players have different sounds, or like I call it shapes because it's a type of rhythm where he would play, but he wouldn't play. I guess he wouldn't play straight. I'll just demonstrate. He'll go like doom. I call it like Dukadoon or something like Dukadoon. Okay. It's like he'll do a ringing note and then he'll do like a few follow-up notes.
Some of that is called grace notes. So basically they're the notes that you play in between getting to the next chord change. So sometimes a grace note isn't even actually a note. It might be a percussive thump on the string. So you might be muting the string so no actual note comes through, but they're basically called grace notes. So they connect up the chord changes in a song.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's what mostly he plays. And also another influence that was on Led Zeppelin was actually James Brown. Because when John Paul Jones was doing some of his bass sessions, I guess some of them were in a kind of early funk period. And so if you think of communication breakdown, you go down, 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 down. So when you do those percussive accents near the end of a bar, when you have those 1, 2, 3, those quick notes after maybe a grace note or just a ringing original note, and then they'll have those couple choppy notes in the middle of a melody, was inspired by funk and some of James Brown's rhythms that Led Zeppelin incorporated into.
Well, also a lot of soul and rhythm and blues. So all of, you know, there would have been a whole smattering of James Jamerson. So even though John Paul Jones was playing in the biggest rock band in the world at the time, he would have been taking influence from what he was hearing on the radio. Motown was everywhere. You've got Jamerson playing precision with flat wounds that have been on his bass for like 15 years with the tone control turned down. So you're getting all of that. Then you look at what John Paul Jones was using. So jazz bass and alembic, which was a far cry from what he's listening to. But it just gave him the facility to do all of those things. So there was back then, you know, there was so much on the radio records, you know, it's different to what it is now. So you'd have all that audio influence and you wouldn't even know you were being influenced, but it would come out in your playing. So, yeah. You also got to remember, you know, John Paul Jones and Jimmy Page were two of the leading session players on the London scene at the time. You know, it's the solo on "It's Not Unusual" by Tom Jones is Jimmy Page.
Oh, wow.
Now you listen to that and then listen to Kashmir. It's not the same guitar player. Yes, it is. He was a session player.
Oh, interesting.
There you go. How about that little nugget?
Yeah, it's just knackering through my mind right now. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that though. Yeah.
These guys were going from studio to studio because that work was there then. You could do 2 or 3 sessions in a day, And it's, we had no mobile phones. It was all done by phone call the day before, or you check in. If you had an agent, you would check in with your agent on a call, on a payphone. And, you come out of one session, ring your agent. You got anything for me next? Yes, get down to, Soho Square and get into those studios and go and do, you got 2 hours down there, and then I'll tell you later on where you are this evening. Sometimes they do 4 sessions in a day. Crazy times, man.
Right now, I'm just putting ice on my hands, on my arms and hands. Sometimes they swell up, so I'm like, why would I put ice on my hands? But really, it helps with the swelling. So
have you got
I can
humidity
get back
going?
to playing more after that.
Okay.
It's just a process.
Very good. Is that a medical condition or just an environmental?
It's more inflammation.
Okay.
Previous. Injuries or scar tissue
right.
buildup or pain. So get on with it, get it fixed up and back on the fretboard again.
That's it. Got to get working. Get those fingers working.
And I guess to help bridge that over, I've been watching bass playing or just music tablature. So I've been watching people play tablature. So they'd have their fingers on the guitar, and then they would have the tablature. So more when I'm watching the tablature play, I could see the connection between tablature and finger playing, and then I could learn how to read the music better. So any way I can be involved in music to get me to the next level, that's where I'll be studying it in
Good
any
stuff, man.
way.
That's it. Got to get your feet wet with it and do it. It's all good. It's all good. Practice. You can't undervalue practice and time. Doing what you want to do and where you want to get to. It's going to take work. There's no easy bypass. You've got to put the hours in, like Nick did. He sat there, and as I did when we were kids, 14, 15 years old, you sat with your instrument and you did the work. Because once you grow up and you become 18 and you got to go and earn a living, you don't have that time. You've got bills to pay, you got rent to pay, mortgage to pay, everything. Life takes over. So those hours you put in when you're younger will pay dividends further down the line if you choose to do this as a way to earn money, way to earn a living. Nick did that.
Right now,
as you say. Go on.
Oh, I'm cleaning the basement out. I'm just taking everything out, putting everything back in, and then I could set up some audio gear. And when I set up the audio gear, I could set up the bass, and then I could show you some of my playing.
Yeah, cool.
So
well, we can get it set up for next Saturday, and
I'll be on vacation next week up north. I'll have the basement cleaned, and then when I have things set up, it's quite possible that will happen. But I have to.
We'll do it the week after because next week's live chat is going to be an early one. It's going to be a midday start because I've got a gig to go to straight after the live chat. So let's do it 2 weeks' time.
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
We can hear you play. Then. Cool. It is coming out to 5 to 6 here in the UK, here in London. We're remembering Nick Smith. I'm probably going to bring the live chat to a close shortly. There's a couple of videos I want to play. I'm going to string them together. And the last clip, well, actually, let me tell you what we're going to play. So we got a clip of him, which is the most recent clip he posted up on his Facebook page of him playing a JD. I've then got a clip of him advertising himself available for bass lessons. We've then got a clip of him playing a piece dedicated to John Diggins, the guy who made the JD basses that Nick loved. And I know John's passing affected Nick deeply. They were friends. And yeah. And then the final piece will be a clip of Nick playing with Genesis Connected. And yeah. So if anyone's got any other comments, anything they'd like to say about Nick, any other memories, before I start winding down, let me know. Add your comments in the comments box at the bottom. I've purposely not done any advertising, super chat, super thanks, all of that stuff today because it seemed inappropriate. And yeah, haven't mentioned description box and affiliate links. It's not the thing today. I just wanted to talk about my mate. But thank you everyone for getting involved. I know there will be people watching this after the event. You can still leave comments. So if you've got anything you want to say, memories of Nick, post them there. It may be we do another one of these a little further down the line. We may do it as a yearly event. I don't know. We'll just see. Everything is all a little too fresh and raw at the moment. And those of us that knew him and appreciated him, this has all come as a horrible surprise and not in a nice way. And I'm still trying to get my head around it. I'm still trying to compute it, that I'm not going to see the guy again. And yeah. So, you know, like I say, if you're watching this after the event, feel free to come in, add comments in the comments section. And yeah. I can highly advise finding Nick's page on Facebook. Just look for Nick Smith, you'll find it. And there's loads of video content on there. Some of it you'll have seen here, but there's loads of it. His Facebook page was very active. There were some great videos that were older videos, and I tried to include them, but the way our phones used to be, the video quality was so poor. The audio was great, but the video couldn't keep up with his play. So he's trying to slap, and you don't even see his hands move. So I thought we won't use that. And but there's loads of good stuff on there. I'm just so sorry that we didn't get into that brain and got it bottled or booked up or on a website. He could have made a living off of what he knew. And it's actually maybe given me some impetus that all the info I've got from being a bass player, being a journalist, all of my gear knowledge, I need to get that out there. I don't have any kids. When I go, it's gone with me. So it might be that I start doing a load of stuff here on the YouTube channel that's maybe in there, and I need to get it out into some format that people might want to watch. But also, when I'm gone, you fabulous people, again, people could be watching this in 10, 20 years time. You fabulous people that are watching YouTube videos can actually go and find that information and tap into it for what it's worth. Oliver Bowen, may he rest in peace. He's probably up there right now talking to Chris Squire and Boone. You know that. You just know that is the case. Yeah, and he'll be cheering off plenty of musicians' ears and telling them, this is how you play this. You never played it right. Bless him. Yeah, I hope that makes you happy, mate. It was a pleasure to know you. And I wish we'd spent a little more time together, but work kind of meant we couldn't. But we both live for our work. That's the truth. So to all of Nick's friends, family, work acquaintances, colleagues, you have my sincerest, deepest condolences, sympathies, all my love and best wishes. We are in for a rocky period adjusting to life without him. There's the funeral to come. I'm hoping I get to attend. If the family decide to have a small one, then so be it. I said to Dan Veal yesterday, they're probably going to need to book Wembley. And I don't mean the arena. I mean the stadium. There will be so many people that want to come and pay their respects and say goodbye. So we'll see how things pan out. On that note, I'm going to leave you with a bunch of videos. To the regular live chatters who come in here every week, it's been a little different, but thank you for sticking with us. It's been a pleasure and an honour and a privilege. We'll get back to some sort of normality next week. We'll be live from midday, not 2 o'clock. We'll be on from midday. Dawson, thank you for turning up. Thank you for getting involved. Tracy, it's been an honour and a privilege to talk to you. If you need me, you know where I am. I'll send you a friend request on Facebook, give you my number. If you need me, you can contact me. It's no problem.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Pleasure. If Nick's family are watching or watch this after the event, I can't even say sorry. All I can say is you have all of my love and best wishes. I've been in a different position because my family members that have passed away were older. This has been a complete surprise. Gobsmacked isn't the word. I'm shaken to my core. We will just have to adjust. But let be in no doubt, the man was extremely well loved, well appreciated. People loved what he had to offer. And on that note, I'm going to leave you with a bunch of videos. The last one is the live video. So guys, actually, Jaymi Millard said this to me yesterday. Be compassionate, be nice. You don't know what people are going through. If you've got friends you haven't spoken to in a long time, ring them up. Sometimes a message isn't what's required. Give them a call. Cheers, Dawson. Take care. Check in with people you haven't checked in with for a while. Okay, it might take 5 minutes, but you never know when the last time you're going to get to speak to your friend might be. We just take life for granted. We do. Appreciate what you've got. Appreciate your friends. Appreciate your family. Look after yourselves. If you're out playing bass this weekend, drive carefully. Be mindful. You've got people that love you, count on you. Make sure you get home. Okay? I'm going to get off my soapbox. I'm going to go and I might have a drink. Actually, I haven't had a drink. I need to raise a mug to the man. Mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. Love your bones. Love your playing. Won't ever forget you. One day I'll be up there. We'll have that bass playing session. We kept saying we'd do it. We never did. Nick Smith, you will never be forgotten. Okay? Whew. Thank you everyone for joining in. I hope this has proved helpful to some of you. If you need someone to talk to, find me on social media. If you're friends with me already and you have my number, call me, message me. Don't be out there going through this and what we've been left with on your own. You're not on your own. Loads of us are in the same boat. So, Nick Smith, you were a gem. Enjoy yourself. Walk the dogs. Walk my dogs. Find Indy and Max. Give them a walk, will you? I'll see you all next week. Thank you for everything. I'm going to leave you with, let's count them. 1, 2, there's 4 videos. I'll do them one after each other. Take care of yourselves. See you next week. Take care.
Just wanted to say thank you so much for all the lovely birthday messages, which I'm still getting, even though it's 2 days later. It's absolutely hit me for 6. So just hope you've all had a great Christmas, and we'll see you very soon in the new year, 2025. Many thanks.
Hi everybody, looking for lessons in the bass guitar? Look no further. Check it out. Give me a ring anytime. I'm there for you.
This is for you, John, my old mate. Sleep well. Bless your heart.